See? I'm pulling the pencil back like that. So if you'll notice, the blade never moves. I'm pulling it back.
Okay.
That's what's going on.
And you're
So what I'm not
steady.
doing, what most people do is this. They hold it like this, and they go chop, 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 like that.
Right.
And they end up clipping themselves, you know, and getting little. And that's, you know, I know people that do it like that all the time, and they get good results. That's fine. This is my way. I've never seen anyone else do it this way, but I'm sure there are other people who do it this way. But I think it's the best way. It's a little weird, though.
And you steady the blade with your thumb.
Yeah, I keep my thumb right there, and I just pull back on this, and I get that. I mean, really, yeah, the reason I cut it back right here is so when I lay it down, I can get the broad side of the lid and really get it nice. And then if you have a sand pad like this, just a little sand pad, it's like the same brandy. But any old sand pad from any, sometimes I'll use one of these too, like a fingernail polisher. That works too. A fingernail sander, whatever.
Oh.
And every board.
Every board.
And you can use this to sand your fingernails too. Good. What I do is I go up and down like this, and I turn it. I turn. Just go really quick like that around it. Just I'm already done. That gives me a. Let's get it out there. You can see how sharp that is. A really nice point. So I can get it like a needle if I want. And then I just usually keep it on a napkin or something like that and just put that in there. So it's really not even dirty. If you have a little piece of paper or a napkin, you can put it on. It's really not dirty at all. So anyway, there's the maybe I should just do this. I'm getting my stuff together here. Is it right here? Okay. Okay. So I'm looking at well, I didn't record that demo, darn it. I'll do it again next time.
Are you teasing me, Rob?
No, I didn't record that. I didn't record that demo. I'm recording. I'm going to record now, though. That's because that was spontaneous or something. I have my little notes right here. It says, "Record, Rob. Wake up." Okay, so I'm going to record this. All right. And
what picture are you working from?
I'm working from, I'm going to start off on 179, and I'll just tell you the numbers as I go along, because I'm going to put them all together and come up with something. All right?
Super. Okay.
Okay. Now I'm going to mute you guys just so it doesn't, so the picture doesn't jump around, and then, but you feel free to ask questions, okay? I mean, it doesn't mean you can't ask questions. It's just, it gets rid of a lot of the background noise, that's all. All right. Then I got to remember to unmute myself. There we go. Now, I'm looking at 179 first.
179.
Rob, I don't see a number on these photos.
Can you show a picture?
Yeah, I don't have a number either. I just have the photos.
Yeah.
You know?
Which in the
Oh, this is easy. I got it. This one's really easy. It's the one with the poppy fields. Oh yeah, and there's poppies in them. A lot of poppies.
Is there orange?
Yeah, there's a little bit of, well, there's a whole lot. There's mountains way off in the background. Way off. There's a little road.
It's the first attachment. It's the first attachment on the.
Yeah, it's the first one.
Oh, okay.
What's the number?
The very first one, and they're people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and poppies.
Oh yeah. Oh, that one.
29. Huh.
It's easy.
So,
Forget about it. Okay.
Hey.
All right. So, what do we do here? Let's. I've already decided I want a horizontal composition, so I think I'm not going to go with a vertical. And I'm just going to go ahead and give myself a few. And these are just thumbnail sketches. If you can see how big that is, it's very, very, very small. And this is really just for placement. But I think I want those mountains way off in the background. And I may take them out later, who knows? But it's amazing when you get on the other side of the mountains how flat everything is. So we get another little mountain range in front of that.
Can you pull your paper down, please?
Down?
Move it. Yeah, well, there you go.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I can't get up. I can't zoom in anymore, but that's okay. Okay, now on top of that, we have little grasslands and things, and then I'm going to go forward to another one here. I think I'm going to go to one of the other ones, like. Well, let's just go to the second one. I see 167 on mine. And, okay. Sorry. Technical stuff. Okay, now I'm thinking I have some little mountains way off into the distance over here. No big deal, but I want to just lift this side up a little touch. We have a little foreground hill right there. Little foreground hill. This will make a lot more sense. If you can't see exactly what I'm doing, just hang in there. Hang in there. And then I do like on the first one, those sort of meandering paths and roads and things way off. I do see kind of a road way off, and I want to just mention that right in here. I'm just going to put that in relatively dark so I can just see it. Way off. Maybe even throw in a couple telephone poles just to create a little bit of depth. But I'm not sure I want to put them in. I mean, it's up to you. I don't know. Maybe not. I'll just leave them out for now. And then what we have are all these patterns created by the poppies. So I'm going to move forward here a little bit. And you can, construct yours any way you like. I have some where the poppies are really up close and you can see them, looking right down on them. Others where they're pretty far away. But I'm looking at 180 right now. You have some really interesting little passageways through the poppies. I mean, it's very orange. And by the way, I might even want to put 180 off to the side. Just letting myself know what numbers I'm using there. And then some little passageways. If you look, you might even see kind of like a C, a letter C or a letter S in those little passageways. They think of them as paths. Really what they are is they're just, where it's more green and then you don't see as much poppy. I guess that would be orange, wouldn't it? And so little passageways, and they're making little kind of meandering little shapes. Something like that in there. And it's, this can be reworked. Mostly, I'm just noticing that I have these beautiful little shapes up here in the foreground. That's all. And that's a lot already. I might even want to throw in a few clouds. So that up there. I think they're a little confusing. Maybe very light clouds. Yeah, if you notice on that first one, the mountains were really, really light and really far away because they're so far away. I mean, you're probably looking at 40, 50 miles. Oh, yeah, easy. So you're going to get that. But already, of course, we've already made probably 50% of our decisions. I mean, just putting things where you want them is a big deal. And what you shouldn't do is just start off painting and just throw things around the place and see what you come up with. Now, that's something you might want to do when maybe you're a little bit more advanced or you're comfortable with the subject and you've done this kind of thing before, or maybe you just felt like flying by the seat of your pants on this one. But I'm talking about when you're trying to make more of a worked out composition. This is the way to go. We've already made a lot of decisions here. So a good thumbnail sketch is the way to start off. Just call that the thumbnail. And then I'm going to shoot this out a little bit. Let's see. Yeah. Get a little higher. And I'll do a value rough over here to the side. Maybe. Maybe I'll make it a little wider over this way. And I didn't start off with my rule of thirds, did I? Totally okay. If you want to break this into thirds, just lightly. Now, you don't have to put in all of these lines if you don't like. Oftentimes, I don't put in all the lines. I think for some of you that have had this, I think I just went over this for my Monday class. Some of you take that too. Looking for my gummy laser. There it is. Okay. What you can do is, watch, I'll just take these out. Here's what I usually do. When I'm out and about and I'm making just quick sketches, I don't always draw out all these lines. I usually just kind of eyeball. There's about here, there, and there, something like that. They're not perfect, but what you're looking for is something that just takes you out of the center. That's all. So you don't put your, you don't put your mountain right above the center, and your pathway right in the middle, And you think you won't do it. It happens to everybody. I'm telling you, it happens to everybody. I do it all the time, and I just laugh. I do it right in the middle of the demo, so you guys have probably seen me do it. They're teaching you guys, and I'm here doing it myself. So anyway, start off with something like that. I can still see those little blips right there, and that's good enough for me. Okay. Now, so around here was the third. Just so I don't put my main landline, sort of. I'll go back to 179 here. Now, when I took the photograph, I'm looking at it. Wow, I have it right in the center. So I'm going to move it up. Not quite on the third there, but I do want those mountains off in the background. I think I'm going to make them a little bit bigger. There they are. I think those are the San Antonio Mountains. Big Bear from behind over there. And then something like that. And then I had another little hill in front of it. And I think I'm going to flatten it out a little bit more like that. So my main line is right on the third. If the third is here,
I have it right up there, so it's keeping me out of putting that main line right on the center, which I'll do. And I liked another little hill off to the side over here, and I was doing this one just to add another little foreground element. I took it from another picture. I'm pretty much just making it up. Like that. Give it a bottom. It's still pretty far away. And then, right, way in the back on the 179, I'm seeing some little trees and things way off here. So I'm going to just mention I have a few little tree things happening way off over here, way back there. And out of that sort of comes this, you sort of have this, like the letter C, I'm seeing a road there. And I'm not sure I want to put all the little motor homes and, what do you call them? Cars, etc. on there. But I'm just gonna see a little pathway through there. Maybe we will add a couple, maybe telephone poles or something. I don't know. I don't want it to be a major deal though. Just some sort of, paths and roads and things like that can really pull you off. I know in that picture you might see another road way up here, and I think I'll leave that one out. But I do see the poppies giving us a little bit of a hill overlapping that road, and I like that. And that's what you do. You just go through the things. You make your choices. Your choices will be different than mine. That's fine. It just means, I'm right and you're wrong, and that's how it comes. I know you're laughing. I can't hear you, but I know. Okay. So I'm gonna throw in a couple of little switchbacks. That's all I'm looking for here. It's just little zigzaggy switchback themes. These just represent sort of the lay of the land and the way I want my poppies to lay down. And you can use some of the other photos in any way you like. I'm going to go up here to so there's 180. 180 looks really good. I'm seeing just little zigzags of flowers. Now what's happening is the ones when you look down here at the bottom, you're looking way down on them, and that's when they'll separate. You may actually even see one all by itself. Very, very rarely, though, will you ever see one all by itself. And that's what you have to know about painting these fields. If you go painting each one, not only will you be here all day, but it won't look right. You've got to paint clumps and clumps and clumps. Now, as you're looking at these poppies going off into the distance, they're overlapping each other more and more and more and more and more. So up in the foreground, you may get something, you may get some clumps and occasionally one by itself, something like that. But I don't even know if you can see that. That's okay. We'll take care of that in the finish. But mainly, as you get, let's say, 20, 30 feet away, you don't see any individual flowers anymore. It's really just laying down into clumps and clumps of flowers. And that's what makes them look. I mean, when you're standing in the poppy fields and you look straight down, it's not really a big deal. But you look across them all, and you just see millions and millions of them overlapping each other. That's what creates that carpet, sort of a carpet look of Let me go to another one here. Yeah, the 134 I'm looking at right now. It's got one little bush off to the right side, but other than that, it's all orange poppies. It's probably the most orange one there, and that's really good for doing some of the background hills as well. Wow, that would be really good for doing this painting. Maybe I'll add some more. See, you don't have to go by one photo. I hardly ever use one photo. And I do a lot of just improvising, using lots of different things. Even that little bush off to the right side could really work for you. Kind of add a little space for your eye to rest on, possibly. All right, so we have some nice little zigzaggy areas. And so from here, what I'll do is, let's go back to 179, that's the beginning here. The blue sky is very light blue. I may make mine a little bit darker. Let's see. And I did make my mountains quite a bit bigger than what's in the photo. And that's just fine. It just looks like cropped into it more. I'm using my side of my pencil. I'm just getting a little bit of a value on the.
Rob, did you do these photographs this year or from in the past?
No, these are like 10 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, because this year wasn't very good.
All right.
Yeah.
And this is what, Antelope Valley or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Last year was great.
Yeah, it was one of the best years ever. I had this gentleman come up to me. He said, I'm 87 years old. Let me tell you, I've been coming out here every year since I was a kid because it's never been this good.
So cool.
Yeah, I remember he said I felt so privileged. Yeah, I came across these photos and I thought, well, Renee just went out to the poppy fields, got me thinking about them. She went out there with a friend the other day. Just the two of them. I thought
they're very empty right now.
Yeah,
I went to.
With literally nobody, and it was extremely windy, and she didn't have a great time. But
There's a ton of grasshoppers right now that are really cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Did you go?
Yeah, I went like a week and a half ago.
Dang it! You should have went with them. You would have had fun.
Yeah.
And then they showed me which way they went, and it's not the right way. They weren't going on the regular freeway. They went way up the 5 and then took like Bouquet Canyon.
Oh yeah, that's the way I went too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really pretty.
Fun drive.
Yeah, it is a beautiful drive. I just thought maybe a little bit. I mean, she's not really used to driving mountain roads, but
I see.
she goes, Dad, I had no problems at all. And I said, okay, well, good enough for me. So anyway, good to hear you about there, Miles. I didn't know you.
Yeah. Let's go.
Okay. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and darken in my mountains a little bit. Try not to make them too dark. They're really far away. I'm even seeing a little bit of snow on them. I don't know if you guys can see that, but so we might even put something like that. I don't know. I don't want to make them the star of the show or anything. So I might even like lighten up this line back there a little bit too. Just a little mention. In fact, you have to look really hard to see those mountains. So it's really up to you how much you want to emphasize them. I'm just going to go ahead and get this foreground hill here too. Again, I don't want to make it too dark. Just darker than the mountain behind it. Just a little bit darker. You can always come back and darken it. There we go. And then I put another hill over here. And you know, I'm not even sure I need it, but I just wanted to try it. And it's a little bit darker than this foreground hill, so I'm just going to go ahead and throw it in with this side. Just a little bit darker there. And then, I mean, I can't even see the road way back here. I'm just seeing little nuances. But I think I want to emphasize the fact that the poppies are a little bit lighter than the grass. So I think in my comp here, I'm just gonna leave little white areas for the poppies. And they just sort of meander your strokes back and forth in this pattern, in this sort of pattern like this. Sort of zigzaggy. Some people like to see the letter Z, that helps. Or S, like Superman. Or maybe a C. Any one of those. Just if you think in the terms of those patterns, you'll get, because that is what happens when vegetation lays down. I'm just going to see a couple little passageways through here. I really liked that. Oops. I really liked that 180. I think it was. 134. That's what it was. Wow, that thing is orange. And you can see how much darker the greenery is compared to the orange. The orangery. Sorry. Oh boy. See, they have a greenery word. They don't have an orangery word. Orangey? Orangey probably, huh? Yeah. Don't you like it when I like to figure out the English language right on camera here? I don't know. Okay. Little passageways.
What's French for orange? Isn't it orange, orangerie?
Orange.
Orange. Orange, okay.
I think in German it's Oranga.
Really?
I think. Oranga.
That sounds right.
I forgot. I know green is blue. I used to know that stuff. It's been so many years. All right, so we have some zigzaggy patterns. And the main thing with your zigzaggy patterns here is that let me just draw this a little larger right here. As your patterns go farther away, they're really close together like this. Okay, then as they come forward, they get bigger and bigger and bigger. It's perspective. It's your basic perspective. It's this kind of thing. So you'll have patterns that start off a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger, bigger, right? And then as things go back in space, they appear smaller. That's all it is. See, there's perspective in everything. Everything. If you can see it, there's perspective in it. So that's why your lines, your little passageways will be really close together back here, a little bit further apart, and a little bit further apart here, and so on, and so on. They're not perfect, but there is science behind it. Oh yeah. Okay. Now, let's give ourselves the darker areas here. I have a lot of medium tones, and there are a lot of medium tones in this. There really aren't. I'm not seeing a whole lot of dark in any of these. So the thing to do is emphasize some of your greenery, probably. Some of the darks that'll be under the flowers and such. You'll want to hit a little bit of dark in the foreground up here, more than likely. You know, you could even make little notes off to the side to yourself. Just say, you know, darker, darker, Oops, I'll put that right there. Darker and more saturated. Or you could just say more pure. You could say pretty, whatever you like. As things get further away, maybe you want to just notice that they get not only grayer, but like a bluer gray usually. Bluer gray, typically. Bluer gray. Just as things go back in space. They get, oh, well, why don't we just say lighter up here too, huh? Lighter. So look how much analysis we've done in a half an hour. You know, I mean, really, it's a well spent half an hour. We could have definitely done some values. Sometimes I'll do my values on a small scale too, but I think it's not really necessary. I usually use the thumbnails for placement. I'm thinking maybe a little darker in here. Really punch these guys in the foreground. And I'm not sure I'm even going to use this much dark green in the foreground. I really want to emphasize those poppies. So you can easily, this is a great way to get them too, just erase out. Now I'm working negatively, right? So instead of addition, with an eraser, I'm subtracting. Getting some interesting shapes that way. Great way, you know, positive, negative. You're constantly working positive, negative, getting yourself interesting shapes that way. Okay. Okay, and that's interesting enough. I'm thinking I probably will end up making the mountains just a touch smaller. But if you already know that, you don't have to redraw. You don't have to redraw another one. What you can do is just note that you're going to do that. And I thought maybe let me blow this out a little bit more. Whoops. My hand is up here. I thought we'd do some warm-ups first. People were telling me last week that maybe a little warming up before we start would be a good idea. I think that's a great idea. So I'm a big believer in that. I do a lot of that myself. So how about, you know, we could do little compositions, but I want to do some fun stuff. It's all fun. Let's see. Let's throw out a little bit of sky. Oh, I didn't put that in the frame there, did I? Let's throw out a little bit of sky. I'm using ultramarine blue. Never mind my little twiggy things here, okay? I'm just using scrap paper.
We're warming up with you right now, Rob?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I'm just going to take my little cloth here and pull out a couple of shapes. Little cloud shapes. Bring something off to the side there. And if you like, you can take a little bit of your paint and work back into the cloud if you don't like the exact configuration of it. Something like that. I'm not looking at anything, by the way. I'm just having fun. We'll let that dry up a little bit, and then we'll hit some shadows. How about you just work at your own pace? You don't have to. We're only doing these just to get a little bit of knowledge about the subject and to loosen up and have some fun. Okay, let's try some of those mountains way off in the distance. I'm doing way too dark. No problem. It's start off with a blob. It's way too dark. No problem. I'm just going to give it a contour. And I do see a little snow on it. You could put that in if you like. Now, if I want to lighten that up, all I'm going to do here is add water. Just add water. If it were oil, I would just add white. And then I can blob that at the bottom. Because I'm working at a slight angle. And that'll dry out later. It did give me kind of a hard edge on the top. And that's up to you whether you want to keep that or not. I mean, if you don't want to, again, just add water. See, we're already lost into the watercolor. We're already painting, getting into that intuitive part of our brain. And we haven't even started it yet. If you'll notice, the mountains will get a little bit lighter at the base, and that's not an illusion. Even the hills in front of it, I can see, this is 179 I'm looking at. If you look at the base of the hills and the mountain, they get a little lighter at the bottom. And that's not an illusion. The cool air will settle. And maybe, I got a little burst of color. I'll just dab that out real quick. I'm gonna hit some foreground hills. And that won't be very hard edged because I'm painting over something wet. That's okay, I'm just playing. The only reason I put this in here is just to have something a little more distinctive in the foreground. See, I'm getting all these things leaking in there. You may choose to cover those up. I choose to show them off. Just playing around here. I'm gonna take some green, just Prussian blue and like lemon yellow. And that might be a little too green for doing the far away stuff. So if you add a little bit of magenta to it, the magenta is a red, but it's a blue red. So you should kick it back in space a little bit more. So you're taking the lemon yellow, Prussian blue, and to gray it, instead of adding red, add magenta, which is a bluer red. And what I'm going to do here is just look at this. Using the side of my brush and laying it flat on there. Look at that. You can sit there and try to do that and mimic all this way, or you can just do it. Let the brush do the work for you. It'll do it better. See? I should call this Cheating in Watercolor 101. Let the brush do the work for you. Let Henry's Chinese brushes do the work for you. Look at this thing. Watch this. There's those passageways, right? Look at that. I'm thinking about those passageways being, as they come out your eye, in the same, like that. Remember that stuff? Yeah. I'm thinking that as I'm doing these. Oh, I'm almost doing the painting here. Darn it. This is supposed to be a warm-up. That's enough green. Wow, that might be too much green.
So, Rob, can you explain what you mean by letting the brush do the work? It's not that you were running out of paint, was it?
No, what I'm doing is I have my brush here, and instead of, by the way, I'm not putting it down like this. I'm putting it, see how it's flat. It's flat. The brush is flat, and the page is flat. So I'm getting a dry brush effect, and I'm just skimming the top, getting that kind of effect. You see how organic that looks? You tried to mimic that. You can get it. You can get it. There's definitely other ways to do it. But this is just such a great way. And then it leaves all this white. So as you're putting these things down, I want you to think of leaving white. That's where your poppies are going to be. Now, could we have done it in orange first? We sure could. And we'll just do it right now. While that one's drying, I'll just move this over here. I'm going to grab some orange, cad yellow, cad red. Okay, and then we could do the same thing with the orange. Now, that's a pretty saturated orange for that far away, but I want to see what I can get away with here. Here's a good idea too. Get your orange pretty watered down. And so in the foreground, it won't be as pure. It won't be as perfect and pure and gorgeous as you want it. Don't worry about it. We'll come back and smack it later. That smacking was for you, Lynn. She likes it when I say smack it.
I love it.
Okay,
It's
so
just so forceful.
okay, so here's the same thing in reverse. We could throw these down like this. See how we automatically, without even really choosing the path, the brush almost chooses it for you. I'm getting beautiful, wonderful little passageways for my orange with just a couple of strokes. So now we could just add the green into that. It's the same thing in reverse. But here's the kicker, is that, let me lighten that up in the background, is now that you have, let's say I like that layout, I could come back and really smack some orange in there, in the foreground, and we can leave it light in the background, and that'll give us our, what we call atmospheric perspective. Some people call it aerial perspective, but that's actually wrong. I hear it all the time, but aerial perspective is when you're like in a hot air balloon looking over. It's atmospheric perspective. I'm probably wrong. Nice.
It's atmospheric for sure.
Yeah, you're taking the classes. So I'm right. Yes.
You're right, Rob.
Okay, good, good.
So is that orange just cad yellow and cad red? Because it looks
Yeah.
like
the neutral to it or something. Like there's a green or something.
Well, you probably won't be seeing the same color as I'm seeing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's very, very potent. And I don't know if you guys happen to have any Indian yellow or something close to it. Oh boy, that's a good one to do poppies. Throw some Indian yellow into your with a touch of cad red. You'll get an amazing color.
What's in Indian yellow?
They got Indians in there.
Yeah.
No, you really want to know?
Yeah.
Well, they feed mangoes to the calves, and then they don't feed them any water. So then they pee, and that's turns into a powder, and that's what you use.
Okay, so it's an orange yellow.
Yeah. So you see what I'm doing here in the foreground? I'm hitting.
That was a serious answer about yellow. That's how that yellow is made. Are you serious?
So you know what? You're my daughter now. She never knows when I'm joking or not, because I'm always saying stuff, and I could be joking. Am I not?
That's what I've heard too. I mean, yeah.
I just threw a little bit of that Indian yellow in here. Can you see how it sort of saturated the foreground a little bit more? Yeah, it actually is true. Now, most of the time when you're using the Indian yellow that you buy, it's probably not made that way because it's probably a chemical. It just looks a lot like Indian yellow. But now, some of the more expensive brands, you might actually be using it, like Holbein. I wouldn't be surprised at all if you're actually using it and not a chemical. You'd have to call up the company. You know, I actually have a book on it. I think I might actually know the information. But anyway, much more saturated in the foreground, much less saturated in the background. I'm looking at the photograph. The oranges are really saturated even farther away, so I could probably get more saturated than this. But now, what I wanted to show you is, let's come back over here to the green. We could take, I'm getting really involved with this thing. We haven't even started meeting yet. Okay, for our warm-ups here, I'm gonna just tag some of these guys in the background. Doesn't matter if they overlap some of your greens a little bit, it's okay, you can dabble. I still am having a hard time finding good quality paper towels. Okay. So see how I'm just going over that now? Same technique, just dragging it along there, but there we go.
You wait for the green to dry, right?
Yeah. Now you don't have to. You'll get a lot of wet into wet happening that way. This gives you a little bit more control. And if you'll notice in the foreground, I didn't really saturate my oranges very much. And if you look at all of these, see these little white things? Very easy to turn those into poppies. Look, just give them a little, make it popalicious. Get a couple of those guys in there, a little of those. Then I come back in with a more saturated orange in the foreground. I'm going to throw a little bit of that Indian yellow in there and just let it go nuts. You know, for those of you that like the liquid mask, I don't really like it too much, but if you like that stuff, you can take a brush and just dry brush it in there the same way I did mine, and then put your things in that way. So you can paint your orange over that, then pull up the mask and put in your green. I don't really like the edges it gives me. They look a little, what's the word? Contrived? I don't know. They look a little strange to me. So I'm noticing that the greens tend to be a little bit darker than these oranges. So we can come back and hit those. And I think this is enough warming up. We're going to really cut into our time here. I tell you what, though, with this much warm up, you should have. Hopefully, this should give you a lot of comfort in starting.
This is very helpful. This
Good.
is very helpful. Thanks, Rob.
Sure. Now I'm just going to go ahead and just dry brush that in again. Now I'm going to get little lights and darks in there and a little wet into wet on the edges because it's mixing with the orange. See? It looks really, really. Awesome. Awesome. There we go. And far away, you'll want them getting a little lighter and maybe not as green. I might mix a little bit of gray into it, or actually, if you just throw a little bit of that poppy color in it, it's got red in it. It will gray your greens. It's just. As it gets farther away, you'll want softer edges in general. Softer edges. But there's a good way to get that kind of look. This sort of look of poppies without sitting there rendering out every little poppy. So there's a great painter, great California painter. You've probably heard of him. Granville, something Granville. He was a California impressionist. He's mainly known for doing these poppies. He really renders them out. But his groupings and everything are really excellent. Beautiful meandering groupings that go up and around hills, and he's really excellent. And then he comes into the foreground and gives you like tons and tons of information. Something Granville. Or maybe that was his first name, Granville something.
Redmond.
Yeah, Redmond, yeah. Is it Redmond Granville or is it Granville Redmond?
Granville Redmond.
Oh, okay. Because I'm so great at names. All right. And then we'll just really punch some stuff up in the foreground. Really, we'll punch some yellows and stuff like that. And then really quick on this other one. I'm gonna hit some greens in there. It's the same way, it's the same thing in reverse. You can approach it either way, whatever way works best for you. All right, I'm gonna hit some of that green. Here I'm starting with the foreground. Certainly could start with the background. And then I have much less green in this one. And then as these go back in space, I just want them to get lighter. And maybe even add a little bit of blue or blue-gray to your greens as they go further away. Just to get the atmosphere. You notice I'm getting a little bit of darker on the edges here. And that can really work for you because it can feel like the poppies are kind of, as a group, sort of going into shadow a little bit under there. Isn't that great? It's what I call a twofer. You just overlap the color, I got a little dark, maybe even what you'll do is you'll come back with little darkies in there, little shadows and things like that. But I don't want to get carried away. I've already gotten too carried away with this thing. Let's get to the real deal here. I'm going to use this as my little comp. I love it. All right, let's see. All right, put it right there. Okay. And I'm going to shoot this out a little bit. So here's my fingers. Okay. I wanted to put this in a board. Just put it on the board. Maybe I'll just stick it on there like that. Never tried this way. Here's my finger. Okay. See, after that much work, you get a good sense of what you're about to do. So I'm going to go ahead and just go ahead and throw in my mountains off into the background. Add that little hill in front of it. And it really flattens out. Again, you know, some people really want a portrait of those mountains because they're very. So if I were doing a commission, I would probably really pay attention to the shape of those mountains. But in this case, all I want is some mountains. And I'll just give it another little peek there. Lift that up a little higher. Come over here, we're going to put a little one up in front there. Something like that. I'm using the whole paper this time, so I'm doing the bigger one. And then we had that sort of little passageway here. There was like a little road or something. I'm not sure I want to put the telephone. If I do put any telephone poles in there or whatever, it'll be just because I want more depth out of it. And maybe a little area of interest. I'm not sure I even want it. It just sits in the back of my mind. Okay. And you saw how we threw in those poppies with just the brush. So what you might want to do is just put some lines that are close together way back here. And as you come to the foreground, maybe your lines are a little bit further apart. And that just kind of helps you to get the steps to create some depth in your piece. I don't adhere to these lines. I just use them as guides. That's all they are. And I'm thinking I do want a couple of clouds in here, so. Oh, we still got a lot of distance back here. I can pull this down a little bit further. Okay, let's get cooking. Does anyone like that comedian, Jim Gaffigan? Just been doing fine. He's been doing all these things since he's been on the quarantine with his family. He's got a big old family. He's got this little routine, and he goes, "Let's get cooking." He'll do this big song and dance, and what he ends up with is like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or something, you know. I don't know. Okay, so well, I'm even seeing some pink and reds along the horizon there in the picture. We could emphasize something like that. So I'm going to start off with ultramarine blue in my sky like this, and just throw that thing in there. You know what you could do is, how about we leave some of the white? See how I left some white there? We can make those into clouds. Get some on the horizon too. Those would be nice. A little right on the horizon there. There's another way to do clouds. I mean, you see me oftentimes I'll stamp them out with my rag, but here I'm actually there. Here I'm actually just leaving the white of the paper. It doesn't matter. You can do both. Watch. I can have a couple of little trailers off to the side there or something. Really soft edge. You could come back and soften some of these edges with your rag if you like. Make it really misty. It is totally up to you. I got a speck in there. Come back with some blue on the brush if you want to shape some of those. Just mess around with them. And we can come back and throw some shadows in there later. A lot of times, like I said, there was a little pink along the bottom there a little bit. So I'm going to throw something very, very light and sort of pinkish along there. Maybe blot that a touch. Usually your atmosphere, if you'll notice, the sky gets a little lighter as it gets toward the bottom. So that's more atmospheric perspective there. I'm just blotting that out, making it a little bit lighter as we get down toward the horizon. The other thing you can do is you can hit a little, if your sky got a little bit too, maybe it needs a little dark, you can hit a little dark on the top, and that'll give you a little more depth too. Now I'm going to have a little bloom right here. I can see it's the wet, there was a little water pushed in there. You can choose to fix that. I choose to leave those. That was when I came back and played with some edges. But if you want to fix that, all you have to do is just dab it with your sponge again. And another way to fix those is to really get all the water out of your brush. So it's very dry. See how dry that is? Very dry. Get it to a point, and then you can come back and just tickle those. What's happening is the brush is absorbing those. So if you want to know how to fix those. But I love those blown, so I just leave them, personally. And we certainly could come back with a touch more. We could easily come back and glaze in a little bit more of that pink later. Yellows and pinks. What happens is along the, as you look toward the horizon, the lower you get, the more you're looking through more atmosphere. And the more atmosphere you look through, the more dust is in the air. Could be smog. Out there, you're probably just looking through dust. It's kind of windy. So you'll get warms and cools in the air. You'll get like the little yellows and pinks and lavenders as you get toward the horizon. Even on an extremely clear day where you're looking up way up into the sky up here where it's very blue, as you get toward the horizon, it still might get a little gray because remember, this is something our eyes don't see very much because we're not in wide open spaces like this. So we can't see that distance. That far of a distance is hard unless you get up on top of a mountain or you're way up high somewhere. It's hard to see this this kind of distance. You know what's really cool about this is it's only an hour away, like an hour and a half. Okay. Now, I'm going to hit those mountains. Kind of blue, maybe a little bit more violet. You want to make a blue violet, just add a little bit of magenta to your blue. And I just started off like a blob like that. Like everything else, it's all blobs. And that's pretty dark. But just like my other one I demoed with earlier, just add water. Just add water, and you can play with the contour. If your drawing shows right through, I love that. So, but I guess if you're really trying to make a very finished watercolor, which, you know, when you're in your studio like this would be the place to do it. When you're doing plein air, I mostly do plein air, so I like to leave all that immediacy. And even when I do my finished work, I like the immediacy. So. I'm really going to light that up. I'm just going to come back and hit this with needs to be lighter. You can barely see it back there. I'm just going to add water, move this around a little bit. All right. And I would stay away from using green blues that far away, unless you see something really green. But typically, things that are this far away are really got so much atmosphere into them. You'll want to go for more of the violet blue. And it'll tend to be, so of course that's ultramarine and maybe cobalt. Those are good blues for using from far away. It's quite gray back there. You can gray that blue by adding its complement, which is orange. I'm sure you have plenty of. All right. So we'll go to the foreground there. We got this hill. I'm going to throw just a touch of orange back there. I see how that grays it. A little bit of orange. It's color theory. It's applied color theory. There was a great painter at Art Center named Dan McCall. He was a great teacher. And I used to call I never heard anybody call him this, but I used to call his class, because it was head painting. But it wasn't really head painting. It was color theory. And we just used the head as an excuse to play with color theory. And I used to call his class applied color theory. Okay. More. And if it leaks into the background a little bit, I don't mind. That's just the watercolor. It's just a great watercolor. watercolor effect. And I love that. I hit this one in the foreground. A little bluer. And here's a little secret. Take a little water on the bottom, just a little water. I'm only using water there. And that's called keeping a wet edge. I need one here too. I mean, I'll bet you the Italians have a word for that, but I call it keeping a wet edge. Like, I kind of like how older generations would refer to things in America. Like, if you look at Edgar Payne, he has a book called Composition of Outdoor Painting. It's not called Composition of Plein Air. It's called Composition of Outdoor Painting. Because we in America, we have a name for it too. It's called outdoor painting. But it just doesn't sound as good as plein air, right? I mean, you know, those French, they know how to make everything sound good. Okay, here's a little kicker. Ready? Remember, as your oranges get far away, they get bluer and grayer. Well, look, I have this blue-gray right here, so why don't I just throw up my orange? See, there's a little orange. I can throw that in there, and I'm already, see, it mixes with the blue, and you get the gray. I mean, it's, see, beautiful thing. I could have just mixed that color, but it's already there for me. Just to get some of those orange areas, it instantly bluifies it. So that gives me my distant ones pretty good. Now as I come into the foreground, I think I'm going to go the poppy way. I'm going to hit the poppies in first. All right, so load up with some orange. And remember what I did in the beginning. I added a lot of water to it. That way, the ones that are far away back here won't be as saturated. That's pretty saturated. I'm adding water to that. All right. And I'm looking. I just moved over to that 134. That's the one with the little bush off. There's a little bush right here. I'm looking over there now. Yeah, leave yourself lots of, wow, that is really covered. Leave yourself lots of little patches where the green would come through. This. Just using the side of my brush there. It's just the side. And you thought doing poppies was going to be hard. You know, once you learn this technique, you can use it on a billion things. I mean, I do clouds this way. I do paths this way. All kinds of things. All right. There's a lot of yellow on that too. Wow. I'm more yellow than I thought. You know, and some artists will just leave it real painterly. You know, they'll just let their brush strokes go free in the foreground. You can compose this or just let things rip as much as you want. There's an audience for everything, let me tell you. Some audiences like everything to be really perfect and tight. Other people they just want to look at stuff that's very loose and relaxing, and where the artist was just caring but not caring so much, you know? Just being an artist. I like to say, one of my favorite analogies is, and I can remember as a little kid, boy, did my ears perk up when I heard musicians, and we had a lot of musicians in the neighborhood. And when they were warming up, that was my favorite. That was always my favorite. I'd hear them play, and I thought that was really great. But then you'd hear them just warm up or just goof off on their own, and that was my favorite. Just there's something about when the artists aren't really thinking. They're just like, have you ever heard an orchestra warm up? Wow, I love that. It's so chaotic, and it has an interesting way of composing it. So I think the same way when I paint. And we could leave that floating on the outside. Maybe your composition could be in here, or maybe take it right off the page. Totally up to you. Just, you know, as they get further away, they just sort of these zigzags get much closer together way back here. That's all. It's the best. Now let's punch some yellows in the foreground because I'm using Indian yellow. Look at this, her palette, it just intensifies it. By the way, you could easily break in some greens right over your poppies if you need to. Like mine are getting pretty dense and pretty thick. If I feel so inclined, I might throw in a couple of, break some of the greens right into it. Actually, it's not as thick as the poppies I'm looking at. I will tell you, when I was out at this poppy field, I still have memories. I could not believe the reflected light. You're standing there, and everybody, like under their chin and under their nose, and like in their clothes, if somebody was wearing white, you could see just pure orange. You never saw anything like it. It's just total nature phenomenon. I'm just hitting a little bit of yellow as things get further away. I mean, it's such a pure color in nature. That's just that's the reason we react to it so much, is because we just don't see a pure color like that in nature very much. Not on that scale. I mean, you do get a blue sky. I guess we get oranges in the sky, but I mean, just to see them as flowers is just phenomenal. Okay, and I'm not going to bother waiting for this to dry or anything. I'm going to go ahead and make myself up a green by Prussian blue. I got some lemon yellow. You certainly could use cad yellow too. If your green gets too saturated, like I'm looking at those greens out there, they're pretty gray. You can throw in a little bit of red in there, that'll gray them. Anything reddish will gray, and it doesn't have to be pure cat red or anything. Anything in the red family will gray your greens. And you certainly could start up here in the foreground and start this way. Or you can start in the background and work your way forward. It doesn't really matter. I got a little dark. I'm just, you know, I haven't completely, I know I keep this on a clipboard all the time because it's moving all over the place. Okay. Still moving. Oh well. I love these gum erasers. I just use them to keep everything still. Okay. Back in business here. So what I was trying to say is, you know, just because you have these shapes that you've made randomly with the orange, doesn't mean you're necessarily finished. You can still carve back into them with your green, see? So in that sense, I think maybe it was a smarter idea going the way I did, because well, you can probably go back and forth the other way. Yeah, that's fine. I was just thinking these greens go over the orange is a little easier than in reverse. All right. All this over here, touch. And you see how it's bleeding around the edges? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about anything. People worry too much. Maybe that's the secret of watercolor right there. When I learned watercolor at Art Center, and I taught myself, but I did get a little guidance. I just remember I didn't know any better than to get worried. I didn't know I was supposed to get worried. People, I don't know why, but this medium somehow has this sort of mystique that you're supposed to be worry you or something. I don't know. That goes for all mediums. The medium doesn't really matter. I think I was just taught an attitude, which is let things happen, let things surprise you. You never know what's going to happen. It's a mystery. That's why I paint. I've always felt that way since a kid. I always thought the funnest part of painting was the mystery of, let's see what can happen here. Then when I went back to school, it was all science, and I needed that. It was great. And then so now, I married the two. So that is a pretty light green. I thought it was. You see, there's little highlights on the green in the poppy fields too. So a lot of this light stuff will work for that. We'll just come back and make things a little darker. If you can hear my wife in the background, she's teaching a class. She's pretty loud. I get pretty quiet. Okay. And remember, these greens back here are just going to be really close together. These are really far away. I might even lighten them up a little bit, but I think those will probably dry nice and light. I'm just going to hit them, just tag them with my with the rag there a little bit. Now it looks to me like the light is mainly coming from the top right side. So most of my shadows, and there aren't very many shadows in this piece, but seem to be coming from almost straight in front of me, but a little bit off to the right. So, believe it or not, even the poppies have a little bit of shadow to them. So what I would do is come back with some. We'll do a little bit of the greens first. Little shadows underneath the poppies. So if we're off, you know, it might be in here a little bit more like that. Like that. I'm just kind of, it almost looks like it's like the poppies are floating or something because it has a hard edge. Now if I just soften that edge, you could even dry brush that in a little bit if you like. I'm just getting a softer edge.
What color did you use, Rob?
The same green, I just use it more without so much water in it. A little off to the right. They don't have to be perfect or anything. Kind of random. Just something under them to give it gives them a little bit of shadows give things a little bit of depth. Yeah, it looks like the dry brush is working good. I'll use a little bit of that. So mostly under here and then in here. And then on the right side, I'm sorry, on the left side right in here, I want to hit a little bit. I keep them really random because the flowers and the grasses really break them up. So you certainly could just take your fingernail into there and just kind of break them up a little bit. Scratch them up. I'm just breaking them up a little bit. The dry brushing works really well too. A little bit of dry brushing there. That's a little dark for that far away. Just gonna. And as they get further away, a little bit lighter. The nice thing about this is that we can keep punching this if we wanted things to be saturated or darker. That's why I started everything off pretty light. Again, little zigzaggy shapes. That's pretty dark to be that far away. Now it's up to you how much detail you want to put into your poppies. Some of these have a lot of detail in the foreground. The ones that are shot far away, like the 179, there's literally no detail. It's really up to you. If you wanted to, you could hit a couple of little detail ones. There's lots of different ways to do that. We could take a little dark in the foreground here and let's say go around one, like a couple of these little guys like this. Create little focal points. But what's happening is that each flower makes a shape like this. Makes a shape kind of like this. So from far away, we're still not getting tons of detail into it, but each flower sits in a conical shape about like that. If you really want to get technical, it's a little bit more like this. It's sort of I think of it more like this. Just keeping it. So as you could just paint little shadows around. If you see a whole flower, that means there's shadow in front of it like this. You could be here all day doing that. The secret to doing those is just don't do very many of them. find yourself a little focal point, like let's say right around here or something, and give yourself a couple of really nice ones. You believe you only need a few. That's why you really want to look at great painters to do that. Again, any of the California Impressionists would be really great at that. But another great thing to do here is take a little white. Here's some white. There's my my white gouache, or Chinese white will be just as good. And you can paint yourself one. Just paint a couple of them. You don't want very many because there wouldn't be very many all by themselves, like I said earlier. If you just put a couple like this, it'll work out. White. If you'll notice, some of my little misses where you're seeing the white paper, they could certainly act like individual poppies. Yeah, you could throw in a few like this. Not very many. I put them in like that, let them completely dry, and then I'll glaze orange right over them. Maybe I'll let those dry and then show you later. The secret to that is not too many of those, or you'll end up doing. Oh gosh, this is a nightmare. I'm on 2,227. Here, the secret is the old saying in painting is, I forgot. I wouldn't do that to you. It's not what you put in, it's what you leave out. That's the old saying. I almost forgot. That wouldn't be good. Okay. Now I can come back and reinforce a couple of things. I could come back here and maybe, I think it needs try a little bit light on it. All right. And that makes me on. Okay, that means I gotta make this guy a little bit darker. Foreground. Maybe all of this. And hopefully I'll get a little twofer here. So I'll get a soft edge because that's already wet back there. And I'll get a darker value at the same time, hopefully. It looks like it's really going to take off on me. No problem. I could just take a dry brush and absorb some of that, like that. It's getting away from me too much. It's starting to bleed up into my background mountains too much. I kind of like it. Yeah, I do. I'm looking at it small up there. It does look pretty good. But, if you need to relax that a little bit, just... You can add a little variation. It doesn't have to just be blue. You could add a little bit of violet in there. Blues and violets work really nice. There's just a little touch of violet, a little taste of violet right in there. Maybe in this foreground hill here, I could have that be a little bit more on the green side. I'm going to glaze a touch of lemon yellow on it. Just to make it feel like it's coming forward. Maybe even a little bit more. On some of those pictures too, you might have seen that the poppies go right up and over the hills. That would have been a nice move. I don't know why I didn't do it. Darn, I wish I would have done that. Oh well, I got to start all over. No. It's always a solution. Let's see if I can add yellow. Now, if I add orange to that it's going to end up too dark. So what you can do, I wanted to take some of those up and over that mountain, just because maybe you get a new idea. You know, in oil, you can make those changes really easy, but in watercolor, you can't. Or can you? Oh, yes, you can. Okay, now I'm going to take some of these, copy some of my meandering patterns here. I'm going to pull it right over my hill. Really get it skinny as it goes over the top. Like fat here on the bottom or on the front. See how I hooked it on the bottom there? Because it flattens out. So as it goes toward the top here, it might get a little bit skinny as it goes over the top. And then it gets fat here. That's perspective too. A little fatter in the middle, and then it levels out and gets a little skinnier toward here. And they can do all kinds of meandering little things. And we'll just let that hill sit there for a little bit. Dry up, and then I'll hit a little bit of little orange on there. Basically what I'm doing is bringing it back to the white of the paper. See, you can make changes in a watercolor. I mean, this isn't necessarily a watercolor class, but just for people who have all these doubts about watercolor, like I think you're a little bit afraid. You have nothing to fear, but the Transparent Watercolor Club, they'll come and get you. Okay. Let's see something here. I think on the bottom side of our clouds, very, very lightly, I just want some very, very light shadows. I'm going to make them on the sort of, I'm going to take magenta, ultramarine blue, and a whole lot of water. I'm probably talking about 98% water, because we want an extremely light shadow on the bottom there. That's too dark. Wow, I can't believe that's that dark. And you can just add water to it to lighten it up, or see there, I'm just getting a little bit of, I'll showcase that a little bit more. So the light's mainly coming from the top and the right-hand side. You know, it's almost noon. It's probably like 1 o'clock or something, 2 o'clock. Just a little bit. You know, you might want soft edges there, so you can use just water on the top and fade it into the white, just water. And there's so many things you can do with clouds. You can add a little yellow to them and give them like a little sun-kissed. I think I'll just leave them white. Still, I just want to show you what you can do with these whites here in the foreground. It's still not 100% wet. I mean, not 100% dry. But as you can see, we kind of brought it back to white with the paint. There we go. See, and it just looks like we left that area. Yeah. I'm just glazing these in. See, now if I glaze that one over, watch, it'll just fade right into the color that's behind it. I don't even know I did it. Here, these, those. That'll give you your little independent poppies. Please don't do those until the end. I mean, right now, I'm doing them just to show you. And if what you end up with by crit time, which is only an hour, I better quit here based on how. But if all you end up with is, you know, nice patterns of poppies and you don't get a lot of detail in them, I think you're just fine.
So, excuse me, Rob, do you recall what colors you mixed to get the green that you have there in the foreground?
Yeah, Prussian blue, lemon yellow, and I think I added a little bit of something reddish to it, like maybe just a very little bit of magenta because they were turning out too green.
See, they use magenta in every possible occasion.
Yeah, that's a complementary color and it'll grade a little bit. So.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot.
Sure. Okay, now the darkest darks in the piece are right in the behind the little poppies in the foreground. So, you know, typically in watercolor, you'll start off with like this. You start off with the lighter lights, and then you end up with the darker darks. See how that gives a little punch up there in the foreground? Just like the ones in your photograph. Now that might be a little bit dark, but just for demo purposes, I can leave them like that. Just pop in a few of those guys in the foreground. Maybe I'll hit it with a paper towel a little bit there. Just a couple of those, just to show you what that can be like. I don't have time to finish this whole thing, but what you can also do back here is because, you know, as you get further away, you just don't see that level of detail. But what you can do is you may end up seeing a little bit of a dark in there once in a while, so you might want to just give yourself a little flick. Dark once in a while. Here's a couple of guys that need a little dark behind. And even in your poppies themselves, you will get little flicks of green and things like that. So, and I really kept my masks here very grouped, which is the way I do everything, right? I'm always talking to you guys about that. Then I'll break things up, see? All I'm doing is I'm just using that little green. A little green here and there. I'm just kind of, see, I don't do this until way late. I don't start off doing this kind of stuff. So you might want to include some of these. You might not even want that level of detail. It's really up to you and your own personality. But you know, you may have a hole in there and you might want to just dry brush it like this. There's lots of one thing I'm warning you about though is this stuff I'm doing right now, you can get carried away with it really fast. I mean, less is more, okay? Less is more. And every time you do that, I want to pop a little darks in there. Just little darkies in there. Sits things down. Be real picky and choosy about the way you put these little breaks in, into the form and in here. when I'm doing plein air, I probably just about finished. For a more worked out studio painting, I might put a little bit more detail. When I used to do murals, this might not even be the lay-in, you know? When I used to do murals, everything looked like a photograph when I was done. And you know, it was a neat engineering feat, but not really very artistic, but you know, it's one of those things where you go, wow, I did that. I can't believe I did that. That's amazing. I feel like you just ran like a marathon or something. So as you break into these, see how these two guys are far apart, right? But these will be much closer together. And if you know just notice too that the poppies bunch together more, so you don't get as many breaks into the form way back here as you do up here. So think about it. Not very many back here. And they're longer and linear as you get further away. They flatten out. Flatten out. And one thing I didn't put in, and I'll just do this really quickly, let you guys get to your business. Is I'm taking the orange I made and I'm adding a little bit of red to it, which is I'm going to shade my poppies, but instead of adding the complementary color, which would be blue, I would turn it kind of greenish. I'm going to use red, like magenta. Use magenta with your orange. Let's see, maybe that's not even. See, I'm getting something not quite the color I want. Try cad red. Let's see what we got here. All right. Some of these, what happens is that the poppies get a little bit shaded too. They're not all the same value. Some are light, some are a little darker. You can dry brush those in. I'm just not, my color needs to be wetter. Red wet. All right. Sure. Maybe a little bit wetter than that. So again, on the left-hand side of your poppies, because the light's coming from this direction, this will go into shadow right around here. And it will over here too. And maybe up in the front a little bit more. You want some of those breaking into the form as well. So not all catching highlight. Isn't that a great finishing kind of, just the way to darken that orange is to add more red to it. And that's called shading analogously. So instead of going to the other side of the color wheel, we're shading with the color right next to it on the color wheel. Maybe like a red orange. That's pretty dark. Thing about it is you can always go darker. I'm going to lighten that up a little bit. And I'm doing this with just a dry brush touch. That's pretty dark still. Add more water. I might have added too much water, but whatever. Let's see. Oh, that's good. So I got a little drippy with these ones, not so dry brushy. You get another look that way. That's cool. Whatever you like. I like the drippy look. It's funny, you know, I'll put a color down and it starts off real drippy because I have a lot of water on it. And as I go, it gets less drippy and more dry brushy. And I like that too. It is weird. Sometimes you feel like you can do no wrong. It's a great feeling. And mostly that happens when you're just not sweating it out too much. You're just having a good time, loving it, loving what you're doing. That's all. You know, when you realize painting isn't about being perfect. It can be, but it doesn't necessarily have to be, especially when you're painting for your own pleasure. This is why so many modern artists love the sketches and the little color comps, and that's why they went to the watercolors too, because the artists, you see, they would look at the master painters from hundreds of years ago, and you know, they wouldn't show these works. These were just their own personal things. They were just their kind of warm-up things when they weren't, you know, showing how dazzling you with all their brilliance. They were doing these things, and when they were relaxing, they're so beautiful. They made it in. That's why you see American watercolor have a very different look than European watercolors. It's an attitude. It's not that they couldn't do it. The attitude changed. The attitude went from covering up all of your technique, you know, covering up your process. Like you'll see, you know, I'll leave my little pencil lines and stuff like that. So it went from covering up the process to showing off the process. So that's modern. Show off the process. And interestingly enough, Miles over there is doing entertainment design. And if you'll notice, that's really a lot about covering up. It's actually classicism is what you're doing. It is classicism. It's covering up the process. You never see any artist's hand in there. It's all about the illusion. And that's great too. You know, classical art never leaves. It might not be the main thing. Maybe Banksy is the main thing today, who knows, but it never leaves. Because classical is classical. It's the rules. The rules are always with us. And we use the rules. In our case here, we're doing a lot more improvisation, a lot more. So we're using the rules to help us solve problems. But if we have a little spontaneous mistake and we go, ooh, I like that, we just leave that. You wouldn't do that in classical. I'm gonna pull a little bit of my poppies up here sprinkle a little orange on the hills over there. It's dry now. Why do you want to hit that? Crazier, but see, if you, well, by the way, when you go over the white, maybe you've already found this out because I didn't say anything, but if you keep going over that white, it'll pick it up and you'll turn to mush. Because now you're mixing the color with the white instead of laying it on top. So when you do that glaze, like over here, like when I did these, you just hit it once and that's it. Sorry, I didn't say anything. Maybe subconsciously I wanted you to make that mistake, you see? Because that's how you learn, by making mistakes. Or maybe I just like to torture you. No, I don't know. Because it's subconscious, I don't know, see? Okay, now I'm battling. Okay, So I'm gonna let you guys meet me back here at 12:15. Give me some photograph, a photograph of your work. Try to shoot it the correct way, you know, so I don't have to rotate it because I can't rotate it on my email. And if you don't know how to do that, if it doesn't come out correct, just shoot it like landscape and then shoot it portrait. And that should work.
Rob?
Yeah.
I found one time I didn't crop my picture before I mailed it, and it came out sideways. So I think if you crop your picture, somehow that sets it up right, and then before you email it, it's okay, I guess. I don't know.
Are you on an Apple?
I'm an Apple, yeah.
I think that's true of the Apple.
Not so with my
Because I don't know.
PC. Okay. All right.
Okay, I'll see you back there then.
Okay.
I'll be. Okay, let's get it back to where it was supposed to be.
Okay, I just sent it, Rob.
Okay.
I'm still working on it, but at least you can critique it. Thank you.
I sent mine.
They're never finished.
Yeah, I've heard they're never finished, only abandoned.
I sent my half an hour attempt of trying to catch up with the class. Well,
You know, it's all just having fun.
well, it was fun to just really fast.
Yes.
Well, you know, sometimes it's better that way because you can't overthink it. There's no time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, it's a good idea.
You know, doing that little warm-up was really helpful. Thank you.
You know what? I think we're going to just start doing that every time.
Thank you.
Maybe it won't take that long next time, but I think it's a good idea.
Okay, mine just went.
All right. All right. Still got 2 minutes.
Rob, I just sent you 4 pictures in various directions. Hopefully, we'll get it right.
I used Henry's brush. Henry, I love your brush.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, hey, great.
It was great.
That's really
I don't do it justice, but hey.
Rob, I like the electric pulse. So just added that. Is the top?
Sometimes it can bring you into that distance.
Is the top line supposed to be beyond the horizon?
The top line of what? What?
Of the pulse?
A little higher, yeah. Well, it would be a little higher. It could be possibly a little higher than you as a viewer. So.
Yeah, I think the picture 179 shows only.
A little higher than the horizon, somewhere in there, yeah.
Yeah.
I've got my, you can see mine.
Yeah, I saw yours, but I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I just copied the picture. The picture seems lower than horizon.
The picture looks like the picture. I think I'm looking down on it. So.
Do I like the bird's eye view. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I make paintings, I usually invent my own. Sometimes I'll take it off the picture, but I usually just use the picture for inspiration.
Yeah.
Okay. We got almost everybody. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
All right.
Sorry for my big sigh.
Rob,
Yes.
I sent Mitsuko. I sent to whichever you like to critique. It's fine.
Okay. And this is Joanne. Let's see. Joanne Chenard? Who's this?
Someone from this class?
Maybe that's from another class. I'm sorry. Okay. Oh yeah, that was earlier. Yeah. Oh, here we go. So Foing, is that you, Henry?
Huh?
It says Foing 22. Is that you? No.
No, I says the title is Henry's paintings.
Okay, who is this? Foing 22. I'll start off with that one. It says California poppy fields. Must be the 1209. Yeah. But whose email is Foing22? Nobody.
Is it Diane's?
No, mine has my name.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Maybe it's Ethel's.
I don't see who it is.
Find out.
Foing22. I don't know who that is.
No, it's mine is just a date.
Here's a good way to figure it out. Watch this.
Bring it up.
Yeah.
Who is that?
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, whose painting is this?
That's nice. Someone should claim it.
We
have a Zoom bomber.
Is there anyone that can take the course without being in the gallery?
I don't think so.
I guess if they knew Rob's,
I don't know who this is.
his ID and the password, they could just be in here.
Without a video.
Maybe I don't know who this is. All right, well, whatever.
Well, someone should claim it.
I know.
That's not Dan's, is it?
Who?
Dan.
Dan? Oh. Is it
Dan?
watercolor? Then maybe it's Dan.
Oh, is Dan gone? Yeah, that's right. He has to take that. No, he usually leaves at 1:30. Okay, whatever. I'm gonna start off with you, George.
Okay.
Let me make sure I got the recording going here. Oh boy.
Oh, that's right. Be sure to record.
I know, man.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let's stop. There it is. Okay. Recording now. And I'm sharing the screen. Okay, there we go.
Ooh. Ooh.
All right.
I did photo number, the last photo, 6.
Ooh, I like those
Oh, okay, yeah.
pretty mountains.
All right, George. Wow. Okay, cool. Now, let me get my little, whoops. Oh, darn it. I'm sorry. I hit the wrong button. There we go.
Oh,
And,
Up close.
and There we go. Okay. Nice one, George. Wow.
Thanks.
Cool. All right. Nice colors. You know, I love this line work. This is fun. You know, that's a stylistic move. And you know, sometimes if your values between your mountains and your sky are too close, you can use a little line work to separate them. You know, it could be your subconscious telling you you need something separating that, or it could be just very, very intentional. It doesn't really matter actually, because it's a nice stylistic move. The other thing you can do is see this white, the white you're putting in right there.
Yeah.
You can take a foggy kind of white, like real milk in the background, and give yourself something a little bit lighter just to separate the sky from the mountain. But the line works great. I love it. Just to, you know, talk about all the different ways, all the different ideas about it.
Hey, Rob.
Yeah.
Billy here. Are you recording?
Oh yeah. Thank you. Yes. You know what?
Yes.
Now you got me doubting myself.
It's blinking, nor mine.
Okay.
Great.
Is it blinking?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Thanks, Shelly.
My apologies. Okay.
No, don't apologize. Please. Because I'll forget. I get so into looking at everybody's painting that I just forget about the most obvious things. Story of my life. Okay,
It's the important things you're engaged.
Yeah. So now, a lot of these oranges didn't come out like these ones, and that's because you don't have anything light behind them. So they'll come out darker, right?
Yeah, I was trying to fade them into the distance.
Yeah. So that's why you need to back it with take a little bit of white. It doesn't have to be this opaque or anything. It could be like, I have that more transparent one here. You take a little white, just kind of fade that in there so it's not, it doesn't have to be pure white, but something like that. And then let it dry, and then put your orange over that. You'll get a little bit better, you know.
Yeah.
That worked.
Yeah.
Something like that. So that's a little too saturated, but that's the idea. So if you want to get that, just use a little white, back it up, let it dry first, and then glaze over with your orange, and that might come out too orange like this one did. So you know you'll want to work in a little bit of
a gray orange. Go over it with a gray orange, maybe.
Yeah. Okay, now that looks really cool. I think your clouds look cool. Maybe I would have tried on your clouds to maybe, and this is just an idea because it does look cool. Maybe take another cloud, just like you did here, right behind this, right behind that, like that, pull it out. So it feels like it's kind of going out, maybe.
Okay.
The idea there is to, the idea there is to just have the cloud feel like it's coming in back of the hill there. When I pull something in back of something, I usually pull it out the other side if I can. It's just it's a habit now, but it's a follow through thing that usually happens in nature. Yeah. And
that'll be easy to fix with white gouache.
Sure, yeah. None of these, you don't have any real big problems here. Are you having a problem with anything?
The basic problem I had was the orange on the mountains. I didn't know what to do to make it look a little better, but I wanted it grayed down. So. Right. So if I were to glaze in something blue on top of that, see how that grays it down? Yeah. But it's almost too gray. Yeah. Yeah. I can't adjust that in this little thing, but it's the idea. So, and then maybe in the foreground, some of these darks got really dark. If you want to
You can take some orange over them, or you can take some green. Some green.
A green wash.
Yeah.
Glaze.
Right up into them. Yeah. Some greens, I'm thinking possibly. You know, I can even see a few more greens back here. Not very many, but just here and there. That's all. Just to break up all that orange. Yeah. Maybe a little green at the bottom, a little orange. All right. Okay. Nice job.
All right, thank you.
Sure. Okay, so did we ever figure out who, oh, where's the Foreground? Oh, it's not there now? That is weird. How could they can't erase their email from mine.
No.
There it is. Who is this?
I don't think Daniel gets back till after 1, right?
So maybe that's Daniel, huh?
No.
It
Who
is.
is that?
That's not me.
Oh,
It really is a Zoom bomber.
is this a Zoom bomber?
But how polite that Zoom bomber actually sent the work.
It's a nice one.
Actually did the work.
Let me see if they're in my participants here. Maybe they're just not here.
How can you be in a class and not be in the gallery?
Yeah. I don't see their name here. Oh, that is weird. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to start doing more password waiting room stuff now. But I didn't think it'd have to be that way, but oh well.
That's your email. That's not your Zoom. So
Oh, maybe they just stole the pictures you sent. Maybe they weren't in the Zoom class.
Oh, look, it says it's Henry. Robert and Henry, here is my practice watercolor painting. Oh, okay.
Oh, it's Henry. Oh.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
How you doing?
I think that's Henry's. Henry's not here.
Oh,
Hi, Rose.
Let's talk to this little girl.
How you doing, sweetheart?
Hey, Mike, could you mute yourself?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Yeah.
That's my son on the phone calling my daughter.
Okay. Tell him hi.
I'll talk to you soon.
Hey, Rob, I switched with Toby, so I don't go on till 1:30.
Okay, so I got you here. Okay. Daniel, nice colors. Wow. Hey.
That's not me, is it? No, that's not me.
Well, this isn't you?
No.
Who is that?
You need to screen share again.
That's Alice. I'm sorry. Alice. Are you
Robert,
there, Alice?
Hi, yes, I am. Sorry.
Robert, are you sharing your
I'm not
own
sharing
painting?
this, am I?
I only have yours. Oh.
Yeah,
Hold on.
I don't.
Oh, there you go.
All right. Sorry. Yeah. Hey, Henry, are you there?
This is not mine.
I know, Henry. Did one of your students
Oh,
take our class with the name Plein?
Plein? I don't know their name because
right.
maybe
Please
he
send me an
left.
email.
Anyway, it could be because I have several students following my Zoom. Yeah, I don't know how he got your email though. I didn't give them. Maybe.
Because Rob said it.
Oh yeah. Okay.
He told Marie.
Right. That's how you he got it. Maybe.
So that's okay. If that person is here, that's okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know who it was.
Next time maybe I will. Yeah, I'll show them how to join your class. Okay. Yeah. So just reply to that person later.
I'm just glad it wasn't a Zoom bomber. I've never had a Zoom bomber before. It wasn't a Zoom bomber.
No. It could be my one of my students.
Okay, let's get into this. Alice, nice. Okay, I like these darks. See this dark right here? Can you see my, let me get my little thing here. This gets a little dark right in here, I think. I would save these darks for up here.
Okay.
So that's real easy. Just wet that, dab it a little bit, so you take off a little bit of the paint, and then save those for up here. Now, if you look at the bottom, see how your marks they just stop like that?
Yeah.
They would have a little bit of shading because the light is coming from this direction right here.
Okay.
That. So if the light's coming from, well, actually more in the front like this, but if the light's coming from there, then there'd be a little bit of shading. So just at the bottoms, put a little bit of shading like that at the bottoms.
Okay.
I'm being really dramatic about it with the black here, but it'll ground them and they won't look like they're floating. That's all.
Right.
So when you just have sticks like this, they need something at the base so they feel like they're floating. It's a small move, but once you get used to doing that, every time you do foliage of any kind, you'll just know that little trick, and it grounds everything and makes it feel like it's sitting down.
Right.
Yeah. Nice colors. I really like your colors a lot. This might be a little saturated of a yellow. When I put yellows in my white clouds, I put them in like almost like 98% water. Maybe 99% water. I mean, there's hardly any yellow in it. Just to give it a little bit of a hint. Like this right here is kind of just a hint.
Yeah.
This right here is pretty strong.
Right.
And you can lift a lot of that out too, by the way, if you want. Or, just remember our best friend, Mr. White Gouache. So that's always, and I always try everything usually before I do the white gouache. So now another thing is since you got pretty high with this hill right here. I mean, it's not low laying, so and that's just fine. But what I would do though is maybe hit a little bit of lighter stuff at the base of this hill.
Okay.
Hold on, let me like that. Just a little bit lighter.
Yes.
At the base, and it makes it feel like the cool air is settling, and you have a little more atmosphere in it.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, it's a quick thing.
Yeah.
You can do it with a rag. You can try it, and you can also do it with the white. Either way, or both. Try both. They both work.
Okay.
And see this dark right here?
Yeah.
A real dark. I think I would try lightening that up a little bit. I mean, these values right here are really good. They're moving forward a little fast.
Okay.
Now, when you're talking about things that are that far away, even the little like this, see this value right there?
Yeah.
And see how different it is from this value? Even those little values make a huge difference. So it's weird, but so I would just lighten that up a little bit. Yeah, as you get further back in space, the value differentiations get more subtle.
Yes.
Just realize that.
So I have a question about the mountain, that particular mountain you're looking at that you told me about that's dark in the center. So my question is, when you're doing a mountain that's kind of hazy, does it have different tones, or is it all kind of the same? You know what I mean? Is it like all hazy?
Oh, my attitude is that if the values are right,
yeah, I
just let the paint kind of do what it wants, and sometimes I'll get some saturated paint back there, and sometimes it'll be grayer. I usually I'm fine with whatever the paint wants to do on its own.
Okay.
But I'm really kind of analyzing the value of it. So if the value is off, like see these yellows back here? What is probably back there is probably not that yellow, okay? But it doesn't bother me because the value looks pretty good.
Okay.
So, yeah. Now I'm just saying that maybe this one's a little bit too yellow. So, but I wouldn't put a yellow that yellow here. That would really punch it forward. But the little subtle yellows can work back there. I mean, and that's not a personal thing. So, yeah, I do let the colors meander and do what they like.
Yeah.
So, okay, so I love your little path here, near. That's cool. Love paths can be great, and literal paths can be really fun. But also, I consider these little passageways of green. I consider those paths too.
Right.
Yeah, I mean it's important.
Yeah.
So those are great. Right, you shaded this very nicely because this would have a shadow and it would cast a shadow over this way. That's right. You did that everywhere. That's what gives your sort of your patch of poppies. It gives it a little more volume. I'm putting that on there. So that's nice. Good. I think these are pretty hard edges. Right back here, so I would work on maybe just doing a little dry brush edge there, or see this little fadeaway you did there.
Yes.
I might do a couple of those guys right around here, and look for hard edges. Now's the time in the piece where you'll want to play with edges.
Should I add more orange? Is it too faded in the front, in the foreground?
You can try. I don't know if you can. The only way you can get a little bit more orange, and you might even want to try doing this, is plop in some little whites down once in a while. Because once you get this dark, it's kind of hard to get it back to a bright orange again. So, but if you come back with a little white once in a while, here and there, just dry brush again, let it dry, and then glaze. Yeah, glaze and a little orange on top of it. You might get some of those bright ones back in. So that can be fun. Feel free to use as much white as you want. Okay, you have my permission.
Okay.
But just do it. I mean, really, you get used to it, and then you learn how to use it sparingly, so you don't kill all the luminosity in the piece.
Right. Well, I really enjoyed your practice one, where we did the first kind of very quick thing. That was really very helpful.
Thank you. Another thing is we don't always have to work in watercolor. I do have gouache here. I could do a gouache painting for you and show you how much like a watercolor it is. So that might be something we want to concentrate on in the future. We'll see.
Okay.
All right.
Is the bottom of the mountain, is it a part of the mountain or a body of water? Alice?
I'm sorry, where?
The bottom of the mountain.
Here?
Oh, I think it's different. This is different. Is this the one?
Yeah.
We are looking at the different one.
Rob put a big white splotch across it.
Oh yeah,
that was me.
Oh, that's Bob did. The Rob did.
That was Rob.
It looks like a body of water, and I thought it was kind of nice.
No, it was just another, brilliant move. I don't know where it comes from. I mean, Yeah. Okay, nice atmosphere right away. You see what she's doing back here, you guys, with the atmosphere?
Nice.
See how?
Gosh, that's like the clouds.
Here to here, all of this. 1, 2, 3, 4. She gets all that, and that's why these guys up here feel so saturated, because they're so great. Your clouds are very nice, by the way. Wow.
Oh, thanks. Those were just, I did like wet on, I wet that area first with water, and then I dropped the blue in, and then I got the paper towel and just blotted it.
Paper towel works every time. Now we're gonna have to talk paper towels. Okay, you got your Viva towels. You got your brawny. I mean, really, we ought to have paper towel painting.
Oh, that would be fun.
I ought to have a paper towel painting demo for you. You can do a lot with a paper towel. I mean, oh my gosh, I'm giving all my best secrets away. Jeez. Okay.
I know I didn't get a chance to get in the darks under the poppies. I tried to, but then they lightened up. So
you know what might help a lot of your foreground up in here? If you hit some more yellow in it.
Okay.
Let me see if I can. I don't know if I can quite get it, but yeah, if you were to hit some more yellows in your greens, that would push them forward. So not back here. Leave this like it is, okay?
Okay.
Up here, hit some more yellows in your greens and hit some more yellows in your poppies.
Okay.
It won't show up very much, but it will punch it forward a little bit more.
Okay.
So, all right.
Just like glazed yellow, is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
just glaze the yellow in, yeah.
Okay.
No, I might actually take this orange right out of the piece. Right here. I might just take it kind of out.
You know what? I started on my piece that I have, before I took, or after I took the picture, I started scrubbing that area out because I thought, oh, it's kind of weird. It should just go off. So that's what I've been trying to do, is scrub it out to take it out.
See how this one stops right here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Stop. I would take that more clearly out.
Okay. Okay.
More clearly out. That's
okay.
Pretty
Got
simple.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then now, I know they do, these forms will look a little contained until you kind of break in a few, your green little things, your little green areas here and there. Just break them up a little bit.
Okay.
Little breaks here and there. You could even do the same with the poppies. You can use a little white with your poppies and bring a couple of little choice poppies out into the green here once in a while.
Okay.
Here and there. Something to play with.
Mm-hmm.
All in all, very nice painting though. Your colors and values, your groupings, all your rules are just there. It's edges now. It's really edges. That's about it.
Okay.
Yeah. Think edges. Like this edge right here is a little hard.
Yeah.
A little bit hard right in there. So.
Yep. Okay.
Right.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Beautiful. This is a landscape right here. It looks like right there. All its own. All right. Okay.
Thank you, Rob.
Yes. Thank you. Suzanne. Oh yes. Oh wow.
Oh, wow.
Hey. You there, Suzanne?
I am. I just unmuted myself.
Suzanne's not there?
I am.
There you are. Are you muted?
I unmuted, I thought.
All right. You got, now, the question earlier from Henry was, should these be above the horizon line? I pulled mine above the horizon line because my perspective is a little different than yours. You're doing very close to the same perspective that's in that 179, and that looks great. See how the top is below the horizon there? So, in all truth, if you look at it, I'd have to look at it again, but it might be going either level or uphill on the tops of these. We'll see.
Okay.
Pay attention to that because if they're below the horizon, then the tops will be going uphill a little bit.
Got it.
Yeah. I have to bring that photo up. Let me get in there. Okay, nice. You got a lot of good bones here. Look at the did you use some white in your clouds over here?
No.
No. Oh, the clouds look very atmospheric. How did you do those? Just wet into wet, or?
So the clouds were wet into wet. I did use the white for the mountains because my background, Mount Gorgonio, looked a little too dark compared to the mountain in front.
I can see some little white in there. That's nice.
Yeah, so I used white for them. I had to use white for the mountains to lessen the contrast of those. But the clouds were just blotting with I use a tea towel instead of paper towels for conservation, but
Oh, okay.
And it's pretty absorbent, the tea towel.
You know what really worked for you? Look at this. You have this. You have this tree mass here. This, and then you have another really faint tree mass back here. And I think you got that by glazing the white over it, right?
No, that was
That gave you.
that was my original horizon line where I just wanted trees, and then they were faint, so then I had to add the other trees in front because they were too faint.
Yeah. Yeah. So this might be a little dark though, right here.
Okay. Yeah.
If I were you, I'm not you, but if I were you, no, I would put just a little touch of white here, and very little.
Okay.
Just enough to knock it back a touch. And the white's really weird to work with because you got to wait for it to dry to even see what you get, right?
Right.
But, a little bit more so because this dark is almost as dark as this dark.
Yeah.
Very competitive. And I think if you just a little bit more back there, and I think you get a touch more distance out of this. It's looking real good, but let's try advancing it.
Okay.
Pushing it to the next level. Oh yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Great atmosphere, Susan.
Thank you.
This is another one of those things. Can you see my mouse on here?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, okay. So this right here is another one of those things where do you take it out of the piece or do you put it in? Now I can see that you have all these white marks here, which tells me that maybe you're going to crop it in more. I don't know, but I would tend to take this right out of the piece because it's so close to the edge. I wouldn't want to see shape right on the edge of the piece.
Right.
So that's one of those things where I might take it straight out. Just take it straight out. You'll still get the idea of it coming back into the piece.
Okay.
I know all these things I'm saying are really small, but they do make really subtle differences. Now, it just goes to show that you're advancing because I remember I used to say a lot of major things. And now I'm saying all these minor things. See, I put that white along the back. See what it did?
Yeah.
I wouldn't go that way, but I mean, oops. I wouldn't go that way, but I would lighten that up a bit back there.
Okay.
Okay. Now here's another trick. Those of you that have been with me plein air you'll know what trick I'm talking about here. Smack. This is for you, Lynn. Smack something right here.
I love it.
Not of course that dark, but what's happening is that some of your values here are beginning to look part of the foreground here. And even though they're 10 miles away from each other or whatever, so what you do is you just reinforce, like see these values you got right there?
Right.
Those or maybe even a little bit darker, just punch it a little bit right here along this, and it forces this whole foreground hill in front of the background.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You might even want to hit a couple more along here, possibly, and with your light, with your white, maybe even a little bit more back here. I don't know. I just don't want those colors and values up here. I mean, I don't want these guys back there.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, they're small things, but they make a ton of difference. You're at that level where we just want to just kick it up to the next level. You know?
Thank you.
Oh yeah. And then I would say just a couple more darts at the base of some of these foliages. Some of these foliage, little darts at the base. You need something dark under them to sit them down, like right in here, possibly.
Okay.
Yep. Too small. Okay.
Thank you.
You are welcome. Okay. Now we're at Ethel. Let's see. Oh my gosh, Ethel, you rebel. Look at that.
I know. I decided to get cute.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's all
patchy. It needs separation somehow.
Okay, well, you see how it's separating right here?
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe we need to do a little bit more of that. And by the way, you have a big mass here. Were you trying to balance it out with a smaller mass over here?
Yeah.
See, that's all I care about.
Oh.
All I care about is that you're doing that steelyard thing, because eventually you're going to be able to know and control it the way you want. You just got to keep doing it, doing it, and doing it. Now, I will say that these oranges back here are about the same orange as we have up here, and that's why you're getting a lot of, you're getting a lot of this kind of thing fading back into the background. So, does anybody know what I do to solve that problem? Because I don't. All right. See, I'm not afraid to let you know, and I just don't even, I don't know the answer to that question. No, honestly, see what you're getting here is, here's what I love to do this little trick, dude. It's another little trick, and you're doing it. I just want you to do it more. Let me see. I'm trying to get up close here. What you got here is a line. Now, I don't know if you actually put that line in, or it's just a result of what happened when you put these two colors on each other. But you're getting a kind of a really intuitive line going on around. And what you can do, you don't have to do it everywhere. See, this plant is separating just fine. So every once in a while, you come back in and you tag a little line. Well, you need a little separation. You tag a little line in there. Or what you can do is, let's say if we need a little green back here, let's say if we punch a little green back here, that'll separate it too. A little more color differentiation.
Yeah, I was thinking a little more green or darker green or something.
Yeah. Let me see if I have. I got
contrast, right? For contrast, so that it will pop it. Yeah.
So yeah, I can pull it forward.
Did you just say pop? Did you just say pop the pop?
I said pop.
Did I say that? Did I? Oh, gosh.
See how subliminal this class is? Oh my gosh. Absolutely unbelievable. No, I mean, yeah, lacing a few little greens through, let them meander through your piece. They don't have to be all perfect, but you can use greens to separate this a little too. Just remember, value separates things like it is here, but so does color. And maybe we have too many of the same colors, and maybe what we need is just something a little bit, like I would reinforce the bluer type green in there. A little blue green in there might pop the poppy a little bit more.
Yeah.
That wasn't a joke, and that's really
alliteration going on.
Alliteration. Well, I haven't heard that word since college.
So, Ron, you're thinking blue-green because the poppy's orange, so you're going for contrast. Is that what you're thinking? So if it was okay.
Yeah, a bluer green. So if I were to come over this, let's say I got a green back here. Let's say I glaze the green back there, and then I glaze a little blue on it. There's another way to do it. You could just kind of do that idea. That really gets it to jump. And you don't even have to go this dark in value. I think the color alone will do it. So color differentiation will do it too. Now about these two blobs you got right here in the sky, what's the story behind those?
Oh, those are splatters.
Oh, okay, yeah. Did you do those with a toothbrush?
Oh, they just happened.
Well, I'll do that next week. Next week we're going to do glitter, paper towels, and toothbrush paint. Okay?
Splatter painting, yes.
Maybe those are UFOs.
That's what they are. Anyway.
Oh dear.
No, I know. I get UFOs in every painting. I don't know why. I always
since the humans aren't walking around, they probably figure, hey, we can check things out a little bit better now.
Okay. I think this your hill back here could use a little bit of white.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit of white on this hill back here.
Oh.
Maybe a little. I mean, it's pretty dark.
Huh. Yeah.
Along the edge. Now you could also just block that. Get a little water on there and block that, or you can try some white. Did you even use any white?
No.
Oh, okay.
The white is whatever the paper was. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are some ideas. Yeah, I think I'd really reinforce the greens in here. I think that's the issue. Besides that, I love it. Love it.
Thank you.
Love these. Now, one thing, and just really quick, this is small, but you'll hear me say this a lot. I would take these right out. Right out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did kind of keep them in, didn't I? Oh, well.
Just a couple here and there, just right out. Just crop them right out, you know. Just so you get a little cropping in, that's all. And, you know, every once in a while, it's good to see one come from beyond, you know, in back of the page or something. Who knows, you know? You could get a little of that action, too. It could happen. So, those are small things, but they help. All right.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and we're off to... Okay, Henry, let's see what the right one is. We got number one.
Yay! Oh, that's
Henry, are you there?
no, that's my exercise. Can you try?
Yeah, that's your exercise? Okay.
Wow.
Is this your other warm-up?
That's the arches paper. Yeah.
Oh, you did arches and the rice paper. Oh, yeah, there you go. Okay.
I had the student paper and the arches.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kept working on the student piece now. I mean the warm up one on. So this one is the one I would like to get. Yeah.
Look at his mountains, you guys.
Love it. I know.
See how lost it?
Gosh, beautiful.
Lost and found. Henry knows how to. Henry does this in his sleep. Okay. Because this is Sumi painting right here.
Yeah.
That's just right out of the Sumi handbook. I mean, look at that. Look how gorgeous that is. You got a found edge there. You got a lost edge there. Look at that. Beautiful. Right out of the.
So atmospheric, beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's really. I wouldn't touch a thing on that. I did see now. I think maybe this tree line right here could be a little lighter.
Uh-huh.
And I might now. Yeah, I might use a little bit of just a little glaze, not that light, but a little bit lighter. Like maybe, because I don't want the dark to compete with these in the foreground.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Uh-huh.
No big deal. Yeah, I like your your friendly poles right here. They're cool.
Thank you.
You got character. Again, look at this hillside right here, you guys. I'm not saying you should light that one, by the way. Make it black here. See how he used the dry brushing right here? That's just a great way to handle things. It's just fantastic. Nothing to say about that. It's just beautiful.
Thank you.
Just beautiful. Let's see now. Yeah, now, I guess if our horizon line, let's do this. I got the right things here. If we have a horizon line approximately, let's say here,
Mm-hmm.
then the bottom of this is there. It'll meet somewhere on there, around there, and if the top is there, they'll fall into a line like that. Even though they're kind of meandering, they'll fall into a line about like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just to show you, you know.
The perspective. Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily put them in a straight line or anything, but because I like how yours are a little quirky, because they're like that out there. Those old poles, they bend and weave, and they get messed up by the wind and everything. So, but yeah, generally, if that's the spacing there, then it would be something like a little bit less, and less, and less. That's sort of the idea.
Okay.
Yeah. I know. Once you throw something man-made in there, I don't even know. That's why I'm always kind of apprehensive about using something synthetic in a nature thing. You have such a way with nature; it's just unreal.
Yeah, we call that socialist realism, by the way.
Socialist what?
Realism. It's just, it's like a propaganda. When I was young, we have to put those modernism, symbolism of modernity in the landscape to indicate the progress of the country.
Right. So they'll sneak little pieces of modernity.
Yeah, just like the bridges or electric towers. That's when I started. I was trained to do this kind of. But we learned a great deal of perspective from those.
Yeah, I remember you showed me one of your first paintings. It has a lot of good architecture in there.
Yeah, bridge and towers, something like that. Yeah.
Where was this, Henry?
Oh, I was in China when I was a teenager. So during the Cultural Revolution, they don't allow us to do the traditional scroll kind of landscape. Everybody is going to paint the countryside, or just to watch what we see in real world. Yeah.
Hey Henry, where did you live? What was the name of the village?
I live in a big city actually called Nanjing, near Shanghai actually. Yeah.
Oh, Shanghai, huh?
Near the Yangtze River. Yeah.
Oh, the Yangtze River, huh?
Yeah.
Cool. Isn't that big, gigantic river?
Yeah, there's a big bridge. That's what I was, I painted that bridge. Then I got into a provincial youth painting competition, and then I won something like the first prize. They put it in the newspaper. So I got really that makes me, a famous artist in the school.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I'm very, my parents are still very proud. So they kept the newspaper for like decades and then brought to me. I still have that newspaper.
I'd love to see it.
Yeah, yes. I will show you. I can share on this one, but maybe later. Yeah.
Hey, by the way, I love your blue signature down there.
Oh yeah, I will try to create the contrast with the orange.
Yeah.
That's the way I did.
It looks like you wrote H2O.
Oh, H2O, right. I got my initial L, H.
And 20, oh, I see.
Yeah, H2O, right.
Yeah.
Watercolor.
I'm just playing with you. Well, I mean, I don't know what to say about this area. I mean, by the way, this area right here is all good.
Thank you.
No, this is just really, look, you guys, this is really, just gorgeous.
Henry, did you use white in the background where the mountains are?
You mean the remote mountains?
Yeah.
I did have the Combine lavender, I think, or horizon blue. It has squash in it. Yes. I didn't use pure white.
Henry's not afraid to use
Yeah.
Which is awesome, right? Because all these watercolor people, they think they're so pure, right? And then you have like Chinese who've been doing this thousands of years before them, you know, before the English came up with all these little rules, right? And they have no problem throwing opaque colors in there at all. So, I mean, come on. I think they're a little crazy with all the opaque colors.
Yeah, but very diluted. So it's semi-translucent, opaque, semi-opaque.
There is a right way and a wrong way to do it. I mean, you don't want to kill the painting by throwing in all this white, but at the same time, I wouldn't feel apprehensive about using it either.
Yeah, I have the yellow also with gouache in it too. Yeah.
The yellow, yeah, I can see a little opacity in there. Yeah. And sometimes like a lemon yellow is already very opaque, and it'll do the same thing. It's just weird. All right.
Start by doing like a wet on wet for the orange flowers, and then go in with a dry brush for the green.
Yeah, I just follow exactly what Robert did. I have a video showing the entire process. I will upload it to YouTube. Yeah, I have some fellow artists following me here in my own Zoom also. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'll upload it to my channel.
You gotta see his stuff. Maybe I'll throw that on the. Maybe I'll throw that on the email. Let me put that. I'll put Henry's a link.
Yeah, I'll send everybody a link later.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Thanks, Henry.
Thank you.
All right. Let's move it along here. We still got a lot of people here. Okay. Let's go. Ooh.
Wow.
That is beautiful.
Ooh, wow.
Just let it drip.
Yeah, I like it.
Let it drip.
I like the abstraction.
Wow.
It's more like let it rip.
Yeah.
So each time it drips a difference, it becomes totally different. So it's no end. You can do forever.
Did you turn your paper to get it to go the direction you wanted?
Paper, sideways, but not sideways. The other way.
Yeah.
Wow. It's very marbly. Looks like marble.
Yeah.
So cool.
Well, you know what you're really saying there is because you know what marble is caused by the marbling. You know, is caused by a very natural process, and you're seeing the flow of nature in her piece. She's really good at being at one with the flow of nature. I mean, look, this is really like representational abstraction. I mean, I can feel all the mountain and the foreground mountain in front of it, and then as we come forward, the poppies. But it's a much more natural interpretation, and
gorgeous.
Believe me, there's a big market for the. I don't know if you care or not, but there is a big market for representational abstraction. As you know. Gorgeous, love it. Haven't you ever just looked at drips, and washes, and I don't know. I grew up looking at stuff like that. I would look at a little coffee drip on the side and go, "Wow, that's pretty cool."
I used a coffee one time.
Yeah.
It's a nice brown kind
of
brown.
Yeah, that's part of the initiation. You have to do coffee paintings. It's important.
Yeah.
And then eventually you'll cut yourself and you got to use your own blood.
I'm curious, what kind of paper? Is it a hot pressed or is it?
Again, this is mineral.
Mineral paper.
Yeah, this is very sliding. It's almost like it just slide on the surface.
Can you wash it off?
I just
or that Yuko paper or whatever. Could you?
I think it's easier than Yupo.
It's a mineral paper, right?
It's called mineral paper?
Mineral paper.
Yeah, mineral.
So would cold press do the same? Cold press paper?
Hot press, maybe hot press.
I mean, hot press. You can,
I'm not sure whether it's high press or. I think it's Japanese paper. It's a Yoshimoto or something. Yoshimoto mineral paper.
Oh.
You can get like Amazon.
Oh, mineral paper. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Look at what she gets here. After it dries, see this little ring around the shape?
Uh-huh.
That's what happens on a hot press paper. You'll get that.
Yeah, hot line.
You can get it on the archive paper, but it's not as much. You'll get these. I call them puddle marks.
Mm-hmm.
You get the ring around the outside,
Mm-hmm.
and it almost makes a line, right?
Yeah.
What it does is it takes the negative shape you got here and really emphasizes it. So, yeah, I used to do that in my paintings on purpose. I mean, I would like live for these things.
But you have to paint it in level the position, flat.
Yep. Yeah, like to see the blue back here?
Yeah.
I can see it there. I can see it there.
Yeah.
So it looks like you did that first, let it dry, and then came over it with this yellow.
It's
very nice.
Yeah. It's very, very traditional in Japan.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Dripping technique. Yeah.
All kinds of beautiful negative and positive shapes she's getting at just by being at one with nature. I mean,
yes, yes, you're right. I want to express like sky, mountain, ground are the same. Same component first.
Yeah.
We have a term called the marble landscape, like a marble pattern on natural marble stones.
Like marble landscape? Wow.
Yeah, we can, use the piece of natural marble and then frame it. Sometimes in embed on a chair. That's called marble landscape. Yeah, it's something like that, like this.
We have some picture stone too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Same thing. Yeah.
Just make.
I have a piece actually.
I have a little.
I wish you could see my. I don't have a video today, but I have it here. I will show you on my YouTube later. This is marble stone.
Okay. Beautiful job. I don't know what you can do to improve this. I would do more. I mean, I would do it more, You don't have very much, representation in here, and I don't think it needs it. It's not trying to be that. So I think it's doing its job just fine. It really feels very natural.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Sure. More.
The other one is, if you could just take a look at,
I didn't see that.
I was doing demoing. When you're doing a demo,
yeah.
I was doing that.
Right, so this has a lot of the rules in it.
Yeah.
But still, you're getting this puddle effect.
Yeah, because it's
So this is what I used to do quite a bit when I do people's portraits like this. I have very realistic effects. And then I try to get as much of this sort of puddle effect as I could, just reinforcing the fact that, hey, I am painting here. It's a painting. I'm not just copying someone's face, So there's the issue of the rendering, and then there's the issue of the beauty of the paint itself. So you got a really nice little bloom going right there. Nice.
It almost looks like batik.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. The only thing, I don't want to get into critiquing too many paintings at once here, but I might put a little bit of something light at the base of this hill. Some of these darks, I might lighten up some of these darks, like up here. Some of these dark, because I don't want them to compete with things up in the foreground. But just a little lighter back here. And now it almost becomes the same as the background mountain. So you want it a little bit darker than this background mountain here, but not quite this dark. or it ruins the atmosphere. That's all.
I see.
And that's really easy. You know, you can either take that up or you could add a little white, whatever you like. The technique you use to achieve that is up to you. All I'm saying is that, you know, in value, I think it could be a little bit lighter. That's all.
Okay. That one too, right? The one on the left.
I just love the natural watercolor effects here. You really got it going on. Okay.
Mitchell, is that wet on wet? When you do it on that mineral paper, is it wet on wet?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Now, is this your study, or is this, Shelley? Is this what? I know you got two here, right?
Yeah, that was my study.
Wow, beautiful.
So there's a comp.
I love this study.
Color comp, nice color comp. You know what really makes this color comp is, and I won't spend too much time on this, but these sneaky little grays you got in here,
Yeah.
little blue grays, they really are working for you. They're a nice complement to the saturation. You got the saturated color and you got the sneaky little gray in there. I call it sneaky because you should know that grays will give life to your saturated colors. So
Nice. Yeah, that's good to know. Thank you.
yeah, try a sneaky little gray once in a while next to a saturated color and see what happens. Because sometimes when saturated colors are next to saturated colors, they lose their oomph. You know, that's why I think that's what you're doing here with some of these little lavenders are actually, you know, when you put a lavender next to a yellow, you get something called optical mixing.
Yes.
Right. So if you ever looked at a Seurat painting, they'll have all the dots, and he'll have like very pure colors next to each other. But when you get back, they mix together, and you get little grays that happen. Well, you're doing a little bit of that optical mixing up here, which is a lot of fun. And you're getting that by putting a lavender right next to it, you're getting the gray. And then I noticed it is mixing in, and you are getting some nice grays. You know, this is almost representational abstraction too. Nice. A lot of things here. Now, are you throwing these lines in the back? These little guys back here, are you throwing those lines back there just to separate things? Or?
No, I was just trying to get it to go, just blend it going back. Maybe they're a little too strong. I don't know, but
Yeah. I think I'd lighten them up just a little bit.
Okay, great.
Yeah, maybe, let me see. That's a little too saturated, but just a little lighter. So maybe, I don't know if white will do it. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah. Besides, I mean, I see now, I can't be too over, see, because right here it works really well. You've got these really sensitive little lines. Maybe these are a little heavy-handed. I would try to keep them more like that. Really, really light and light. And I really like the way you switched your together here. It just flows. Look at that. It just flows. And you can feel your shapes. They're really close together back here. And then they get bigger. And they get bigger, and you can see more across them as you get more into the foreground. So,
It's a very flat place.
now I would overlap a couple of these.
Okay.
Very flat place.
Yes, it's a very flat place.
I would take. Well, I would take a few of these poppies and overlap a few.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
here and there, just so you don't have one. You know, 1, 2, 3.
Okay. Great.
Just here and there. Every once in a while, I have one all by itself, but not very often. some overlaps, some groupings. Yeah, if you're going to put in more detail in your poppies, I probably wouldn't touch this area except for those lines. Everything else is just awesome back there. Yeah, I would, if you're going to put in any detail, or like you said, if you wanted to break it up with some greens or something else, I would save it for below this line.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Above that line is literally a painting all in itself. But yeah, if you do want to put in some detail, I would save it for here. Possibly. Yeah. Okay. Great color. Your color is slamming. It's just beautiful.
Thank you very much, Rob.
Again, the lesson to be learned on this painting, you guys, is the way she's using grays. They're giving life to all her saturations. Look at that. Great. Great grays.
Thank you very much.
Gorgeous.
Beautiful color.
Gorgeous. Beautiful ones. Hey.
Hey, Rob.
Hey.
I'll pick at it for a while. Hey, Rob, can we do the one I just sent you? I picked at it for a little bit.
Oh.
Maybe one on the top there.
All right. I got a lot to do here. Lynn, you sent me like 20 of them.
Sorry, just use 4, number 4. I didn't know if they went through or not.
I thought you meant just use all 4 of them. No big deal.
Oh no, just the one that says number 4.
Yeah, I'm running late on these crits here. Let's see. Hey, wow, nice color. Look at you all experimenting with the color.
Ooh.
Wow. And then you got your little pathway off here to the side. Be careful of putting stuff too close to the edge. You know, we begin to get that tangent thing going on there. They're not too bad, but be careful. And I think that if you have a little bit more space off to the side, I would definitely play to the outside of this, so you don't get that too close to the edge.
Yeah.
I like your little road going off into the horizon. And there certainly could be a hill there. That happens all the time. You might see another little hill off into the background, but generally the horizon is around here.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So let's see. So yeah, if we're on that, yeah, you are right. Yeah. Maybe a little bit smaller. As it goes downhill, a little bit smaller. Closer together. Closer together. Closer together. Maybe a little higher than that. Now it depends. Our horizon is here. I don't know. Well, according to this one, this is right on the horizon. So, but now the problem is that these are going downhill, so this will be a little lower. You have to play with that. There is definitely a perspective lesson in this, and I don't have time to give it, but because if you have a hill, then you have another vanishing point. So
yeah.
But
I can just look at some pictures and see how that looks and draw some lines. And
yeah, I don't. The way you painted this, though, I don't think you need to be too perfect about it or anything.
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't want to treat that all perfect and then not have all this be all perfect, or it just would look weird. I would treat it, very much the way you are is just fine. I just wanted to let you know there's a little bit of perspective in it.
Exactly.
You decided to put the people in there, great. And remember, people are a lot like poppies. In the sense that, what will happen is you'll have little groupings once in a while. You'll have a grouping, and then you'll have a person all by themselves over here, and then you might have another little grouping. So think, when you're doing groupings, think 3s and 5s.
Okay.
Do the grouping, yeah. And they don't have to be any big deal or anything, but when you have people all by themselves, you know, you need little conversations and things going on once in a while, you know. Just things closer together. It's just a very natural thing to space things almost equidistant from here to here.
6 feet, at least 6 feet apart, right?
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's funny. That's too funny. So just be careful. And then occasionally you just want a little overlapping. Take 3s and 5s. That's all. You got a really nice looking atmosphere back there. That's really nice. Back here too, really, really nice. Did you see the clever little thing she's doing here with the line too? Little tickly little line in there. It just tickles the surface. Little broken line.
That is beautiful.
Separated into 2 values. Yeah.
Those are Colorado mountains, though.
I'm not being very well, Malby.
They're great.
Yeah, they're a little more dramatic.
It looks like
love the color, love the variation in color on here. Great. Definitely. Yeah, and then are you using a little oil pastel?
No new pastel on top. You can always tell when I don't like my watercolors because I'll be doing other stuff.
I might punch some oranges up here in the foreground a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yellows and oranges. Yeah, leave them here, and then, yeah, definitely gray them as they get back here. You certainly wouldn't want these as saturated as these. But
yeah, actually what I was trying to do with those new pastels is kind of rub them into the watercolor. So they kind of rather, they blend into that underneath color, but, we're not that happen. I don't know.
Yeah. I call that smushing.
Smushing, yeah. The technical term.
Yeah. Yeah, just come to me for the technical terms. Okay. Beautiful. Nice. Really like how you went blue in the background and then reinforced your warms in the foreground. That always works. But look at this. She has some of the warms. She has warms on her mountain back there. But they don't compete with anything up here or anything up here. They've got enough atmosphere in them to where they don't compete. So, very nice.
Thank you.
beautiful.
Okay, now we're on. Oh, we're all the way. A lot of people sent me a whole bunch, right? I think we're on Michelle. No, we're on Marie. Hello.
Hi.
Marie, are you there? Okay. Is this the one you did in a half an hour?
Yeah.
Cool.
Very nice.
Well, it was fast.
Well, it's, as you can see, you get a lot more intuitive things happen. Like see this watermark you got here, little bloom you got there?
Right.
That happens by going fast. I remember being in classes and I'd have teachers say, this is very good, do more, I need you to do another one. Okay, now do another one, now do another one. And they'd have me doing pieces that used to take me 2 hours and I would be doing them in 15 minutes. Just because there was no time to think. They just wanted me to get into that intuitive part of my brain.
Right.
Because once you're there, you realize, the rules are only there. The rules are only there to help you when you need help. Otherwise, let them go, And, I'm seeing lots of good perspective back here. Look at it. See the way your land's laying down? Really nice and flat. And as you get toward the foreground, their zigzagging's a little bit bigger. So that's good perspective, and you don't really need any more perspective than that in a piece like this.
Okay.
Sure. Now, I bet you, if you guys did 1 or 2 more today, but if you did, you would probably be really, really loose. I mean, so I got to tell you, sometimes I just don't even loosen up until my third painting. Happens all the time. You're better to just work faster in a general way. I could see some little darky things possibly at the base here, but maybe you just didn't get to those yet. And that's usually the way a watercolor goes. I mean, usually do your darks last.
Yeah, I kind of felt like looking at it that it's lacking the darker values.
Yeah. And you did manage to get some saturated marks here in the foreground. Nicely saturated colors. But I could see possibly smacking a little bit more saturation in the foreground, here and there.
Okay.
Here and there. No big deal. And the technique doesn't matter to me. I mean, like I said, if you guys have gouache, go ahead. You can do this in gouache. Gouache over watercolor is awesome. But I'm probably going to do a gouache painting for you pretty soon, just to show you that you can use watercolor. I mean, you can use gouache exactly like watercolor. I could do a gouache painting you would never even know it's on watercolor. So can almost anybody who does gouache. You just get used to using it that way. Okay. Your atmosphere back here is totally awesome.
Thank you.
Look at this. I mean, sky, mountain, and look. I mean, your value right here is almost the same as your sky, but you went a little. You changed the color, and you went a little redder with the color, and then you held on to that line at the top, which totally made. That's enough to make it separate. So it's working for me. This is working. You're wise enough not to get too dark with this background mountain, because the problem is that once you get dark with this, once you get too dark with this, then you got to get the next one really dark to get it to come forward. So it's better to keep those really light in the background the way you did. Yep. Yeah, these lovely edges are just fine. They're hard edges. But what happens is that, sorry, what happens is if you have like these hard edges that happen as a result of using, real drippy paint. The thing is they work if you do it all over the place, like you're doing here, like there, and there, and there. You're doing it all over the place, so it works. But if you did, if you did a softer technique was everything was blended, and then you had a hard edge back there, I'd have to say, no, it doesn't work. But it does work because you're doing it everywhere. So that's the way it works. Nice puddly edges there in the foreground. That's a good place to punch some color right there, by the way.
It's in the real painting, it's a lot oranger.
Yeah.
Than what you're seeing.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, if you look at my painting up there, it's just so much better than what you see. No, I'm just joking. No, I know. The color gets really drowned out on these. Yeah. I do. I don't even like them. All right. Okay, beautiful. Yeah, that works just great. Let's move along here. Daniel. Whoa. That's some saturated color.
Yeah. So I gotta unmute myself.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, this is a long crate. We must have had a lot of people today.
Hey, Clean, I'm starting thinking of you.
Yeah. So do you think your blue back here is a little dark? Maybe back here? Oops. All right.
Daniel's muted.
Oh. Can you unmute yourself, Daniel?
I thought I was just unmuted.
You're unmuted now. I mean, you're unmuted now.
Yeah, it's interesting. I thought I was muted. Okay.
I would just lighten up a couple of these back here. Your mountains back here are fantastic. These are great. I don't think you need this harsh of a jump. So see how it is right here? This is about what I think that's about what you're going for. This right here is a little drastic. So as you can see, landscape, when you're talking about landscape that far away with that much atmosphere, I mean, the difference between this and this is like 5 miles, maybe, or maybe 2.5 miles.
Okay.
Did I just make 2 eyes again? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that on your piece. I don't like to talk everybody's piece. I'm sorry. But seriously, I would just lighten that up a little bit. All right. Now, we do get sort of biomorphic with some of these forms. And I noticed mine were doing the same thing. And so what I would do here is just break a few of them up with some greens. And I don't, by the way, I don't, if you like the biomorphic forms, just leave them. But I can see breaking in a few little greens here and there, kind of zigzagging, just breaking things up a touch here, maybe through here. You see how this one kind of goes around here and it stops right there? I would take this orange right out of the piece right here. Just take it right out. Yeah, I mean, this is just a good land, and now we just need to break up some forms. Think of these as like land masses, you know? They kind of look like, they do, and they'll look like land masses until you break them up a little bit. A little bit of greens in there, a little bit of shadows in there, things like that. Now, I would hit a little bit more saturated here, and then just keep it gray, keep it nice and gray back there. Here, just slam the saturation. You did, but if you'll notice that the more you go over it, the darker it gets.
Yeah.
This might be a little dark.
Time to give it a wash.
Yeah, but you know what would look good over that? Some orange gouache. Instead of using white, I can show you how to do that too. That's another way to do it. And no one would really even know. I mean, not only that, you're looking to punch a little lighter saturated color back in there, and gouache is the way to do it. And by the way, you can get all kinds of natural effects with gouache. You can see how it's running right here. You're getting that little bloom right in there. You can get that thing going with gouache too. It's more opaque, but it still does the same thing. So there's a lot of wonderful things about gouache. So it looks like you have some poppies going up the hill here.
Yep.
Yeah. This got a little high on you, maybe.
The other side got even higher.
Yeah. But I mean, it looks like it's going over the hill a little high. So what you could do is just take your blue of the hill into here, possibly. It's not a big deal, really, but I mean, just a little bit more blue, just to level it out a little bit. It's nice to, it's kind of neat to see the poppies. They get real skinny here, and then they might get a little bit wider as they turn toward you, and then they might thin out again as they go down the hill. It's great. It's something to study. It's really something to study and draw. Go out and just draw how foliage will wrap itself around the hill, and it turns down the face of the hill, and then as it comes down the hill, it might. So as it gets toward here, it might actually thicken up and then thin out again. All right. But again, as usual, beautiful color. Your color always amazes me. All right. Miles, weak attempt.
Oh, how's it going?
It's going. Hey, did you throw in some white on there?
Yes, I did. That's the only way I was going to make it look reasonable.
Did you tear into the paper there?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
You got a little too wet. It's been a long time since I've done any like traditional painting. This was fun.
Yeah. Yep. You know, the principles are the same, but the techniques are a bit different.
Yeah.
Now, I don't really get to talk about ripped paper very much. But you might think that's a bad thing. And it is. It's a horrible thing. No, I'm just joking. No, honestly, it's a great thing. You know, especially in modern watercolor, when you really wanted to show off that process, you'll see a lot of artists. They'll leave the ripped paper, and that's they're showing that part of their process. You know, that was part of the vigor of, you know, they're experimenting, they're learning, and that's just part of the process.
I'll jump off.
So now, if you had if your light is coming from here, then I might throw a little bit more shadow on her side over here.
Okay.
And a little bit more on the ground there. Not, obviously not that dramatic, but and you know, I might even use like bluer colors.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do. I kind of ran out of time though.
Yeah,
there's nice blue shadows. I think they would contrast the orange pretty well too.
Your clouds are awesome, by the way. These clouds are awesome. I love these big looming clouds. Now, what happens is that the blue of the sky, because she's wearing a white dress, the blue of the sky will hit her dress, and that's what makes it turn blue. Especially on the planes that are facing upward, like here and here. That will get especially blue. But the white will turn blue when you're having a blue sky day, because it's just reflected. Because the white doesn't have any color of its own. So now, if we're going to go that way with it, then why don't we even maybe take some of this orange and every plane that's facing downward might catch a little orange.
Yeah, okay, that's cool. That's a fun idea.
It does. Look for it. Are you using a photograph or did you just make her up?
I just made her up.
Yeah. You know, I might throw those things in just to mess around, you know. I mean, play with those planes. It works. It works every time.
And those shadows on the mountain are really cool too.
Yeah, you got this.
Yeah.
And you see, by the way, you see how he didn't just go wing with it. He sort of goes, it wraps around, and it kind of, you know, you want it to flow down the mountain. I even like to crest the top like that. Just turn it a little bit like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if I were gonna, like, I would do it. I would kind of go around, down. But yeah, I love those. This is a really great move. One of my favorites too is to go out in big open areas. See how those clouds create little shadow patterns? It's the best.
Some of one of those giant cumulonimbus clouds, I love those.
They are phenomenal, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Just be careful you don't make these two, you know, almost the same size.
Oh yeah, you're right.
You know what? The real quick, little easy thing to do on that is to take yourself a little floater. A little floater here, a little floater once in a while.
Oh.
You know, here and there, just kind of breaks all that up. Yeah, everybody does that. So, and I really love your greens. Yeah, they're a little light, but those might be the highlight on the green. And what I especially like is these sort of semi-translucent blue. Those are pretty. Blue shadows you got going in there.
Hi.
Yeah, those are nice.
I cannot talk.
听不见。
Scared me. Okay. Yeah, you know, by the way, just one more thing.
你可以说话吗？
One more thing that was really clever.
听不见吗？
I didn't miss it. She took this shadow.
Mute.
Yeah.
mute， 我现在按 mute 来，听见了吗？
Oh, now I can talk. Yeah, thank you.
People will take the shadow and they'll end it here. Right? They'll end it right there. What you did is you took it behind her, like this. The follow through. You got the follow through. Now, it is almost lining up with her head
Yeah.
there. You might actually pull it behind, maybe up there. Give her a little more room. But
课太长了，时间太长了哈。
对，Robert 说要评论我的，但是我不能说话，所以他没有办法评论我的那一张。
哦，你送给他那个画了是吗？
对啊，那第一张是我的，但是我说不了话。
哦，因为你不在他的 group 里面，你要想参加他的课的话，我帮你跟他说，然后你那个，他有一个，他有一个学费的，你知道，所以我这边是不收费的嘛，所以你要参加他的课的话，你要那个就是给他交一个学费。
啊，就是说他只要他的学生才可以评论是吗？如果参加你的，他就不可以评论，是这意思吗？
哦，我跟他其实没有关系，我只是他的一个学生而已。
啊，这样哈，哦 ，OK， 我明白了。那因为我不知道，我第一次来嘛。
不好意思，那个我没说清楚。但是如果你要想，他很欢迎我们其他的人参加，所以就是要。它的费用大概是210块钱10次，也就是21块钱一次，也可以一次一次的付，就是30块钱。
OK， 那我想想，我还参加你的 class。
你就参加我的，不用去那边交作业，我们自己评论就好了，可以这样的。
那好吧，那我就寄给你了，我寄到那个。
寄到我们那个，你不是在我的那个 online group 吗？那个 link 吗？在link里面，到link里面去贴。我那个里面有一个你如果没有恢复到，你最好恢复一下这个 link.com 的那个membership。
我在你那个里头啊。
对，里面啊，那就可以。我那边有一个 discussion， 然后你可以在那边贴，我们自己评论就好了。
有一个 discussion， 什么 discussion 呢？就是这种。
叫 Plein， 就是虚拟写生课。
OK。那好吧，我就贴到那里去了。那我就报告。
对，好。
好，谢谢。
好，
拜拜。
拜。
I might lighten up the background a little bit.
Okay.
Not that light, but a little bit lighter. Now, if this were on Sunset, you might get that kind of thing, but I don't know. But I think I would probably lighten that up a little bit. And what do we have here, like a pather?
Yeah, it's the first painting. It's the first photograph you have.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not looking at your.
It was that road and the people there.
You have more? Oh.
It was the first, well.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, yeah. You meant you sent me more than one photograph.
No. The first photograph is what I got it off of. That's what I was using.
There's that road, right? You got a road, you got some people references, right?
Yeah.
That's right. You just let it all hang out when you do an abstraction, and you want to be inspired by something. You want to use something as representation. Just use it at will.
Did you see watercolor?
Watercolor?
Yeah.
No. Did you think of watercolor when you doing this?
Roscoe.
Yeah.
No.
So I think it's very eye-opening things Rob just mentioned. I never thought Rothko is like landscape, but looking at your painting here, like especially like a left part, it's like a Rothko.
Yeah, it is.
Now when I see Rothko, I will see that.
Yeah.
And that's a really eye-opening way of looking at his stuff.
Well, I've always felt like a color field painter. I choose to paint, I choose to represent things, but I still think in totally abstract terms. So for me to jump from what I do to what Rothko does, or any color field painter, it almost feels like just what I do all the time.
When you look at a Rothko, there's so much there. I mean, you can get lost in it just looking at it.
When two colors overlaps.
The more you look at it, the more you start seeing.
Yeah, to me, you've deconstructed the landscape to its most, to its bones.
Well, I've been going to the poppy fields for years, and I was always so moved by it. It was just overwhelming. The colors, just, and I just let it rip.
Yeah.
But I felt.
Well, good for you.
And I did it in a half an hour because I was watching your demo the whole time too until, but I think you just take chances, just go for it. I just went for it.
Do you, when I was at Art Center, I would just spend hours watching the teacher. I loved the teachers that demoed, and we had other teachers that just talked. We had other teachers that just demoed, and I didn't even want to paint. I would just want to watch the demo all day long because I don't know why. Just something about watching somebody else work. It just kind of.
I think you get so much out of it.
Yeah,
you get a lot. I think we're visual.
Yeah,
we're so visual.
And there's all these subconscious things you pick up too. You just wonder why are they doing why is the teacher moving the brush around like this?
Exactly.
Why are they doing that before they make that mark? What are they doing? And you're like,
and then what
tries that before they make it?
And Rob, what's going to come next? How is it going to enhance it? And then he puts the little something, and you're going, wow.
Yeah.
And Rob, just looking at your demo this morning, just the idea of using patterns of the green and the poppies helped me formulate the way I was going to do the painting. Otherwise, I think I was just going to put paint down.
Well, I did a sketch. That's what I did. The very first one, the tiny one that Rob did. And from there, I already knew more or less where to put like the orange and the green.
That's all it's for.
Trying to mix up the color. Just trying to mix up that green because it was so different.
And that's all these critiques and the demos are for. They're just there to, maybe spark something. That's all.
Yeah.
One little thing that, you watch enough of these things and suddenly, there's 25 sparks,
Yeah.
Is white and black, are those pastels?
Those were,
I mean,
it was acrylic ink. It was acrylic ink.
Oh.
Exactly, and with a purple acrylic ink. I used the ink, my acrylic ink, to the minimum. Like I usually use a lot more, and here I just barely put it on for the road. And the white was way too white, so I went back in with purple and just hit it around while it was still wet, and it gave me the right, it wasn't too bright because it was set back. I don't know.
I just like sitting here copying your marks.
Thank you.
Mark maker. You made your mark today. Nice.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Great conversation too. Wow.
Yeah.
Always is with you.
Always with you. Takes two.
Yeah. You're the best conversationalist in the world, though. I mean, we'll be out painting, and somebody comes up to you, and suddenly I see you guys all talking. And you're like, I talk to you later. You didn't know that person for like 30 years? You just started talking to them? Oh my God. So people just feel so comfortable with you. I don't know what it is, but it's not the
I love people.
It's probably your years and years and years of,
exactly, talking to women.
Yeah, but you gotta love it too, I know.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I do too. I love people.
Rob,
Okay,
I'm not sure whether this is very different or not, but I sent you a number 4 because I didn't know if they went through.
I'm looking at the latest one.
Just number 3, I thought.
Okay, where? Let's see.
Number 4, right there.
This is the last one you sent me.
Okay, perfect.
Number
Sorry.
4. That's number 4 right there.
Okay.
Okay. you must have sent me, yeah. You sent me more than 4 though. I think you sent me 4.
But I'm so sorry because I was still working on it and I just sent more.
Okay, well look, you got a lot of distance here from here to here, and you threw in a little bit more saturation right there. So I am definitely getting the 1, or I should say, the 1, 2, 3. That's what we want. I'm seeing the recession. If anything, I would probably maybe hit a touch of white in there. Just a little bit of white back there, possibly. And not as white as I just did it, but a little bit of white back there. Remember, we can hit a little bit of white at the base of these mountains too, occasionally. But they're working. They're working the way they are, so. It's kind of hard to talk over the music. Is that you, Hector? Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't turn it off. Sorry.
See, this is what I'm looking for, is right there. Just a little bit more separation right through these two.
Okay.
That's a pretty light move, but I think it would work. Now, your clouds are just perfect. They're really great. You even got the little dust color in the air right here. You got a little yellow, a little pink. Nice. That must really show up where you are, because I'm barely seeing it, but I'm seeing it. Yeah. Yeah, your clouds are just great. Right. Back here, these are fine. I think this dark's a little too dark right here. I would lighten that up a little bit.
Yeah.
Just maybe even this too, a little bit. What you're looking for is a separation between this hill and this hill, and you're getting it from the green. The green is separating it, but so you probably don't need this to be that dark. One of the keys to getting that progression in the darks here is nail them nice and dark in the foreground, and then progressively get lighter as you get back further away. I know usually I start them off lighter in the background and work my way forward. You know, as long as you're getting darker in the foreground, just make sure that these darks back here aren't as dark as these darks up here. And we could be having a camera problem too, because sometimes the camera will read them both the same. So, I'm looking for a little more saturation. Now, it could be the photograph as well. I wouldn't mind a little more saturation here in the foreground. And then any sort of shadow at the base of here. And when the shadow comes up onto the poppies, I would keep that shadow a little bit more on the red-orange side, like right up into there. So it goes from the orange of the poppy. Hard for me to change colors. The orange from the poppy to the red-orange of the shadow of the poppy to the dark green of the shadow of the greenery. And then you got the light green out here, which I'm thinking maybe you can get a little bit more yellowy green out here in the foreground.
Okay, yeah.
A little more yellows in your greens out there. Leave them back here. Don't hit the yellow back here. Maybe a touch here, but smack them up in here.
Okay.
Smack them hard. You guys gotta watch that Jim Gaffigan. He's hilarious. Let's get cooking. That's what he is. You gotta watch it. otherwise, I think you're doing great. Nice quality to this painting. All right.
Rob, I don't like the shapes. I don't like the shapes of poppies.
Well, you know, okay. So maybe come in, maybe dry brush in a few more greens just to break this up.
Okay.
Break up this mass. Karen. A little bit more. Play with it a little bit. Give yourself a little time too. Look at maybe give yourself a break and then look at the photograph and then see the way that the poppies break up. You'll get little breaks of green in there. And then back here, they don't break up as much. Because you're looking over them more. So because they're further away, they clump together more. And you won't get as many breaks. You'll get a lot more breaks up here in the foreground. So.
Okay, good.
Oh, that looks like army green, doesn't it? Camouflage. Okay, what do we got? There's Michelle. We got Mike. George, I had to leave. Oh, okay. Monica. Oh, that's someone else. Is that everyone? I got everyone, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Rob?
Yeah.
Can I show a picture of the easel that I built?
Yeah, do. Where is it?
Can I just share my screen?
Oh, yeah. Let me get off mine here.
Avenger. When it came out,
Go ahead.
Music by Alan Silvestri.
Hold on a second.
And that's on an album called Superheroes, and that's also what we call our first responders these days.
Hey, cool. Wow, that